All right, everybody, welcome to what day is today? The 24th. Yes, the regularly scheduled April 24th meeting of Midcoast Community Council. Anne, could you take the roll for us?
Yes. Hi, Greg,
Here.
Gus,
Here.
Claire,
Here.
Kimberly,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Dan,
Here.
and I'm remote.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get started with government officials, reports of government officials. I know we've got Harvey. Harvey, you got stuff for us?
Yeah, I got just one important item. At the last city council meeting, we passed a resolution encouraging, if at all possible, Seton Coastside to do whatever is necessary to make an urgent care center staffed and equipment available by the end of 2024. So that passed unanimously.
Great. I think that's great. Okay. Any questions for Harvey from the council?
I do.
Okay, Greg, then Kimberly.
Harvey, did anybody appeal the planning commission decision on the multi-asset roadway thing? I know that Catherine Slater Carter attended. I don't know if Len attended, and I know they're appealing to the coastal commission. I just wondered if anything's gone on in that area.
No, I know about Catherine Slater Carter's appeal, but that's the only thing I know about.
The appeal to the coastal commission, or did she appeal to Half Moon Bay?
I believe she appealed to the coastal commission, but
No, she didn't. Okay,
don't
thank
quote me.
Cool. Kimberly, and then Dan.
Oh, never mind, I'll pass.
Okay, passed. And Dan?
Yeah, hi Harvey. Do you have any update on the city of Half Moon Bay's consideration of the streetscapes, the changes that are proposed to Main Street, and if there's any new information on that available?
As far as I know, there's no new information. It's going to be coming in front of the council later in May, most likely.
Yes, thank you. I have an echo over here.
Let's go.
Is it? Okay.
Jane, okay, it's Jane.
Harvey?
Harvey's there, but we can't hear him. Maybe he couldn't hear you.
But I didn't hear. What was the question?
I don't think there was a new question. Greg thought you couldn't hear you.
Okay, you got an answer to your question?
You get your question answered?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. Awesome.
There's still an echo.
I'll turn off Harvey. Harvey and Claire.
Harvey's a positive.
Okay. Any other council questions? No. Do we have any questions for Harvey from the public? Okay, who's that? Oh, Barbara. Barbara? You're muted.
I don't have a question. I was going to give an update.
Oh, you were gonna give an update. Okay. All right. Well, then if there are no questions for Harvey, okay, Barbara, go ahead and give us your update.
Well, I'm also the chair of the SAM board this year, and I'm just wanting to let everyone know that the Princeton Pump Station Replacement Project is well underway. And you can see the fencing there, and it's we expect to have it done hopefully in 3 to 6 months. So that's going to be a big improvement in safety and operations. Still uncertain is the fate of replacing the SAM pipeline in Montera, which both Montera and GCSD have committed to funding, but we're waiting for Half Moon Bay on that. So we'll see what happens with that. Thanks.
Gotcha. Greg?
Barbara, just off the top of your head, do you know how much extra cost there was on the Princeton pump station from having to stop work and restart when Half Moon Bay didn't approve it?
I saw a number for $75,000 for the 2-week I don't know, maybe 4 week stop that we had. Not clear at this point. That was just an estimate. And of course, since it was the first time Sam agreed to the settlement with the Ecological Rights Foundation, which required replacement of that facility, estimates are that it's gone up from 2 to 5 times as much more expensive than it would have been.
Yeah, I heard it was originally something under like 700,000, 500,000, and now it's like close to 2.5 million.
Yes,
Jesus.
the contract is 1.6, and then the additional costs just for permitting and, you know, supervision, site supervision and so forth add a lot.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. Sid, do you have a question for Barbara?
Not a question, just a statement. Things don't get cheaper over time, do they, Barbara?
No, they do not.
Awesome. All right, then, do we have any other reports from any government officials? Oh, Timothy?
Is Nicholas on the Zoom?
He'll be joining us slowly, he's putting his kid to bed.
Okay, because I do want to ask him for an update on News Creek.
Oh, okay,
We haven't heard about that in a while, and several community members have asked me about it recently.
gotcha. Okay, well, we'll maybe we can ask him for a quick update on that before we launch into the site stuff. All right,
You have some?
yeah, it looks like got his hand up. Yeah, Timothy,
Yes,
go ahead.
stand up.
Yeah, I had a quick update. I didn't think I had one, but Sid reminded me of the chipper program. You may have gotten a flyer in your mailbox. Our flyers went out for the chipper program, and I believe most dates have been scheduled for the streets that were prioritized by Coastside Fire Protection District. If folks are interested in signing up, they can sign up at fire@sanmataorcd.org, and I will put that in the chat for folks, and it's also on the flyers. And if folks have questions, they can also reach out to me or Eddie Sanchez directly.
Awesome. Thank you, Timothy.
Question.
Now,
Timothy?
questions, anyone for Timothy on the council first? Anyone? Nope. Okay, then questions from the public. Sid, do you have a question for Timothy?
All right, I had my hand raised for something else when he's done.
Gotcha. Okay, all right, looks like you're off the hook, Timothy. Thank you for that quick update.
Thank y'all.
Great, then let's move on then to public comments on items not on the agenda. We have folks who would like to make a public comment. It looks like Sid, and then if anybody else, please raise your hand. Sid, go ahead.
Okay.
I think Mary has a comment, but she doesn't know how to raise her hand, so I
Okay.
think we could recognize her.
Okay, we'll recognize her after Sid. Yep.
Okay. One thing, I attended the fire board meeting today, and they had a really nice plan for Station 41 that's in El Granada. They're planning to landscape and put in drought tolerant landscaping plants on their corner lot there, which I think is Obispo and Avenue Alhambra, and I forget the street that comes down to the stoplight, but they were talking back and forth about whether or not to put sidewalks in. And Gary Burke said he saw a woman pushing a stroller through mud back in the rainy season, and he thought sidewalks would be a good idea, but they're going to try to get some money from the county through ADA compliant. I forget the name of the thing, but I really thought it looked nice, and they had a great presentation. And I think sidewalks might help there. It's a little steep. And they also were asked by the county to put in a crosswalk across that downhill street that I can't think of the name, that goes over to the school. So they might be asked to do that. But I would suggest that I told them maybe they should ask Ray Mueller for Measure K money. I attend the Board of Supervisors meeting all the time, and they give out Measure K money right and left to other places in the community. We hardly ever get anything here on the coast, but you have to ask to get it. So then the other thing they mentioned, and it's in the review today, that El Granada is going to have an emergency evacuation drill in May for especially Upper El Granada Boulevard. And then about the Fire Safe Council and Coastside Fires and RCD are helping with chipping if people need to get rid of branches and stuff. So that's really all I have right now. I did attend the 555 Kelly Planning Commission meeting, but lasted till midnight and they didn't come to any kind of a there was so much public comment and they were very diligently listening to everyone, so they didn't have much time to talk about stuff on it. But that's 40 units at 555 Kelly. They'll only have 19 parking spaces and it's 5 stories high. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. I'm hoping that Half Moon Bay will pass the budget for the SAM thing and there won't be more of this waiting around to get funded and pay under protest stuff, or maybe they should just jump to the go ahead and pay under protest like they've been doing, because that lawsuit's been going on since 2017. But I'm hoping and praying. Bye.
Okay, thanks, Sid. All right, Mary.
Hi, I'm just going to read a letter that I sent to the council, if that's okay.
Sure.
It's dated April 20th, and it says, to whom it may concern, I'm writing to inform you about an incident that occurred on Monday, April 8th, involving my husband, Tim Oldham. At approximately 12:15 p.m., Tim had a bike accident on Pedro Mountain Road, located about 1/3 mile from the Corona Street Trail entrance in Montera. Tim, an experienced mountain biker who has frequented this Montero Mountain Trail over 1,000 times, was unfortunately injured due to a poorly marked and significantly altered ditch along the road. Despite his awareness of the hazard, the recent changes caught him off guard. As a result, Tim fell off his bike and lost consciousness. Upon receiving Tim's distress call, I immediately parked my car at the trailhead and rushed to his aid. I contacted emergency services and remained on the line for approximately 20 minutes until their arrival. Navigating the terrain proved challenging for the EMTs, requiring assistance to cross the hazardous ditch that Tim had encountered. My husband, Tim, sustained severe injuries, including 9 rib fractures, a separated shoulder, a partially collapsed lung, 2 pelvic fractures, and a cracked sternum. He was promptly transported to San Francisco General, the nearest trauma center, where he spent 2 days in the ICU, followed by 3 days in a regular room. He was then transferred to a Kaiser hospital, where we typically receive medical care for an additional 2 days of treatment. Our neighbors, Jim and Kathy, informed us that they had previously contacted the GGNRA regarding the dangerous condition of the ditch months ago. However, they were informed that it fell under the jurisdiction of San Mateo County due to road maintenance responsibilities. Despite this, the hazard remains unresolved, posing a threat to others. I attached a picture of the ditch for your reference. We urge prompt attention to this matter to prevent further accidents and injuries. Your swift action in addressing this issue would be greatly appreciated. I thank you for your kind attention to this urgent matter, and I eagerly wait your response. And my name is Mary Oldham. Thank you.
We're not supposed to reply, are we, to comments, but we could take this up on a future agenda?
Yeah, I guess that is correct. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yes, thank you, Mary, for doing that.
Can I ask where exactly it was on Pedro Mountain Road?
It's 1/3. It's 1/3 from the trailhead. About 1/3 of a mile in from the trailhead at Corona and Pedro Mountain Road.
That's on the Pacifica side, right?
No, that's on the Montero side.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Clara, so your hand is up.
Yeah, when I was listening to Sid, I had a flashback about the landscaping at the fire station in El Granada because there is a history of the MCC with that. And when the plans were approved for that facility, there was some stipulation about the maximum height of any landscaping. I don't know what they're planning to put in, but it's something to be aware of.
Okay. Okay, Dan.
Yeah, I wanted to, some of you may have noticed that Caltrans has, done some guardrail work on, there was some slippage that's near the, coffee shop and grocery store. But they must have finished that work and then they put in a, guardrail and some other guardrail work up, across the highway, on the road just above. So, the guardrail work came up in a multi, asset, project. And Caltrans agreed to use a darker tinted guardrail to blend in with the environment better and to not use steel posts, but to use wood posts. And also to not put concrete underneath the guardrail. My concern is that this project that's going on right now, it was like off, nobody's talking to each other and didn't get that message. Guardrail's already up right now, the concrete is not. As of today, they may try to install it in the next few days, I'm not sure. Not sure how to handle that, so Gus, the least council, the community knows. The Caltrans specifically responded that they were gonna do the guardrails a certain way, a certain standard. Now it doesn't look like they're following that. So Gus, maybe I can call, talk later, see if we can, what we don't have is we don't have a Caltrans contact to resolve this problem.
I can ask my Samtrans contact if for a contact over there.
Okay.
Okay. Sid, I see your hand is raised. Anything else for public comment here?
Well, I did want to say something to Mary, but she already logged off, it looks like. Did you get her letter with the contact information? Because I was going to say she really should talk to Ray Mueller about that so he can, get in touch with the county to deal with some of the issues on that trail, since we need an advocate. And then that reminded me that I forgot to say what happened at the Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday is they did at the last minute approve to upzone all those CUSD parcels in El Granada to high density over people's objections who came to the meeting and spoke out. But they said they coupled it with the housing element that they were under the gun to turn it in really fast. So he made promises that would not get developed as high density, but it came out during public comment of the Board of Supervisors that the school board guy who's leaving is Sean McFetridge. He's the one that asked the county to upzone it to high density. So somebody else came to the meeting and said on the board that they hadn't agreed to that and had not requested that. So it's, back and forth up in the air. And then I was going to suggest for a future agenda item to have, but I may not last that long for the meeting, but if you get a chance, maybe when that time comes around, you can put in something about having the Fire Station 41 plans looked at on one of your upcoming agendas, because I'm sure it's not happening right away, but they are in the planning process right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Sid.
I sent the council photos of some graffiti that's the new, everybody received that, the new Yellow Creek Bridge. the retaining wall. And, you know, there has been also in other areas, it's just really sad because the you know, the natural look, typically what the authorities do is they paint over, but now what you're getting is this patchwork of, you know, it doesn't match and it doesn't, you know, it's very difficult to match. So I would suggest maybe we have a agenda item or get the county DPW. I'm not sure who would be. I don't know if it's the city of Half Bay that's gonna it's sitting there. Usually they take care of this kind of stuff right away, but whether it's with a sandblaster to not apply paint on top of this natural, the thing about the natural unprotected the concrete, you know, certain organics kind of grow on it and it looks very natural. And I'd love to see every effort to you know, prevent this like painted on over and you know, unmatching and just
I don't think they can paint it. I don't think they can use paint there.
well, there's graffiti on it. Usually typically they paint over
Yeah,
graffiti, but there may be other methods to have it removed.
I think it's happened by.
I think you're right.
Okay, Jane?
Hi. I wanted to just add a little detail to something that Sid mentioned. I talked to Kirsten with GGNRA about the Tea and Trails event. I didn't realize that GGNRA was kind of doing a survey. They have some interest in turning the park at the top of Clipper Ridge, that whole area, into a designated national park. They're trying to figure out how to do parking there. And my feedback was about the Supreme Court trying to decide what to do if homeless people can or cannot sleep in parks. So I had some concerns around that. But I just a heads up, I think a lot's going on in Clipper Ridge. I don't live on Clipper Ridge, but I think there's a lot of civic input that can go on as far as the changes that are going on, and an attempt to reach out to the people that live there and find out what their preferences are. Thank you.
Jane, they have a homeowners association. You might want to try to hook up
Okay.
with.
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, do we have any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Nope. Great. Okay, then closing public comment, and let's move on to the consent agenda, which I think we just have minutes from the 20th and 10th. Yes, Kimberly?
the minutes of 410 have one mistake that probably should be corrected.
Yeah, is it a simple one that we can approve it with that one change?
Yeah, it says that we attended emergency preparedness, but it was actually a Peninsula Resilience Planning Workshop.
Peninsula Resilience Planning Workshop. So the only thing we need to change is emergency preparedness to Peninsula Resilience
Well,
Planning Workshop.
That's the only thing that popped out at me, yes.
Okay. Great. Anne, did you get that?
Actually, can you repeat that, please?
So down in the notes where we reported our council activity, you have that Greg and I attended emergency preparedness, and it should be Peninsula Resilience Planning Workshop.
All righty, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anne.
And I think we need a motion to approve.
I move we approve the consent agenda as amended in the minutes.
A second. Okay, great. Anne, would you do the roll? Do the roll.
Right there. Greg,
Here.
Gus,
I mean, yeah, sorry.
Yes.
We do
Claire,
Present on the minutes.
Kimberly,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Okay, and that's it, because I'm not voting.
How about me?
What about Claire?
Claire, I thought I said Claire. Did I not say Claire?
You
I'm
said Claire.
sorry. I thought I said your name. I'm sorry.
Great.
Okay.
You miss
Awesome.
one meeting and they forget about you.
All right, great. Nice efficient consent agenda. Yes. Kimberly.
We agreed that we were going to review our previous action items at the beginning of every meeting, and Anne graciously circulated those to us.
Oh, I thought we were doing that at the end of the meeting. We're doing it at the beginning of the meeting.
I think we reviewed the previous meetings items at the beginning of this meeting to see what the status is, and then we have recorded action items at the end of this meeting for this meeting.
I thought we did both those things together at the end. I don't really care. I just thought that was.
I
thought
guess
were
we
doing it.
can unless an item has to do with something that we're doing tonight. That's fine.
How about today? We'll do them all at the end, and then we can.
Okay, I
sort
just want to
that.
make sure we don't drop that.
Yeah. Okay, great. Then we're on to the regular agenda, which first item up is an update from the Half Moon Bay Library folks. So step on up to the mic, and Annie and Juan, and tell us what's going on with the library.
Super, and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen.
She set up to share?
Oh, so I'm Anne Malley.
I see an Ann who I believe is our Ann. No. Ann Malley, way down at the bottom, sorry. Okay, you have now got an invitation to be co-host.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to give you a sort of an update on some of the events with the library and then also with the bookmobile. I'm Annie Malley. I'm the branch manager of Half Moon Bay.
I'm Juan Hu, I'm librarian at bookmobile.
And we also have Mary Appler, our Deputy Director of Library Services, with us today as well.
Awesome.
So a little bit about the San Mateo County Library. So we are 13 libraries and a bookmobile. We are unique and we're part of a larger family offering transformative experiences and a single mission. So our mission is to strengthen our community by creating an inclusive sense of place and an environment for learning. The San Mateo County Free Library was first established in 1912, and the Library Joint Powers Authority was formed in 1999. So covering 351 square miles, our service area is comprised of 11 member cities and the unincorporated areas of the county. And the Midcoast, you can see, is quite a bit of the unincorporated area. So you can see Half Moon Bay, so the Half Moon Bay branch, we serve all the way up to Devil's Slide, down to the Santa Cruz border, and then over to Skyline. So we have quite a large service area. San Mateo County Libraries provide unmatched services to our communities, and we are consistently ranked as one of the best libraries in the nation. Feedback from the community influences our work and strengthens our resolve to provide enlightening, exciting, and essential services. And a little bit later on, I will ask for some feedback. So system-wide year in numbers, San Mateo County Libraries continues to be a high-performing organization. Some standout statistics include our 1.5 million library visits, with a 56% increase over the previous year, 2.3 million items circulated, which is 6% more, and over 245,000 programs and people attended our programs, which is 126% increase over the previous year. More people are participating in our programs, visiting our locations, and checking out our eclectic collection of materials. And then some of the highlights, we distributed 4.3 million Wi-Fi sessions, served over 40,000 nourishing meals, and we do serve meals in Half Moon Bay after school, and checked out laptops over 28,000 times. The following chart summarizes totals for the key library services at Half Moon Bay. Like other San Mateo County libraries, the Half Moon Bay Library has seen strong year-over-year gains in library visitors and program attendance, welcoming more community members into our spaces. Our incredible community continues to re-energize us, taking our innovation to new heights. This year, we introduced new programs and initiatives, and I'm excited to share a few of the highlights. So we have a Maker Mobile. So we have a Bookmobile, but we also have a Maker Mobile. It hit the road last summer, taking maker activities and tech to new horizons. It's a zero-emission, custom-built vehicle that delivers maker programs beyond our libraries. And the Maker Mobile will be visiting Francis Beach on Sunday, May 5th for Coastal Wildflower Day. So I hope you can come and check out the Maker Mobile. We continue to expand our non-traditional library offerings. So these are some of the things that you can take home. So we have bikes, laptops with hotspots, karaoke machines, sewing machines, GoPro cameras, state park passes, county park passes, ukuleles, hiking poles, and we now have blood pressure cuffs. So, and we are always adding new resources. We also continue to expand our online resources, which were popular before the pandemic, got incredibly popular during the pandemic. So we have ebooks, e-audiobooks, e-magazines, music. We have the Calm app. Newspapers include New York Times, Financial Times, and the Wall Street Journal. We have Fable, an online book club, and then you can also get museum passes to go to local museums. So we have partnered a great amount with the El Granada Elementary and Farallon U. So we have this year offered 15 virtual author visits. So bringing authors into the classroom. We do class visits at the schools. We also do STEAM activities with the Coastside Children's Program after school program. And then we were also at Art and Science Day at El Granada Elementary. And then we also bring the students to the library. And then we also visit Coastside Children's Program in Montera, their preschool, once a month. We also have started partnering with the El Granada Community Service District. So in March, we participated in their slightly damp egg hunt and gave out a lot of books and did a lot of activities. And then last Saturday, we were at the Earth Day event and gave out books for adults and kids and rockets as well. And so definitely invite us, whether the Bookmobile or the library. We love coming out to the North Coast or the Midcoast. So now I'm going to pass it on to Juan to talk about the Bookmobile.
Okay, great. So for those of you who don't know, the Bookmobile is back specifically to the Midcoast community. And for those of you not familiar with Bookmobile services, we are just like the library. We are a rolling library that travel around, and we have books for adults, teens, and children for all ages. Also, DVDs materials very popular for all ages on the Bookmobile. We also have a lot of technology items such as laptops, hotspots, those are very popular on the Bookmobile as well. And one of the things that I really want to emphasize is you can actually place hold and pick it up your hold on the Bookmobile. So this is something that best for Midcoast community because we're far from the Hudson Bay Library, we're also far from the Pacifica Library. So when the Bookmobile comes, we can actually bring those items to you. And then also we are part of the Peninsula Library system. So whatever books that you check out on the Bookmobile, you can return it to any public libraries in the Democrat County, and whatever books that you check out at the libraries, you can also return it to Bookmobile, and we can send it back to the libraries for you. Now, we started the Bookmobile service here in March, and we are currently serving 4 stops. We have, all 4 stops, we go there twice a month. And the first one, if you're familiar with it, before the pandemic, we actually visited 3 of them, and one of them is a new stop. The Montera 7th Street stop near the post office. We are there about every other Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. And then Coastside Market, near the market, and also close to the Moss Beach Park. We get a lot of kids over there. So we are also there every other Thursday, 4:30 to 6 p.m. We go to the Pillar Ridge, the mobile park community, every other Monday, 3:45 to 5 p.m. We also get a lot of kids over there as well. And the new stop that we have for this community is the Granada Community Park. We visit here every other Monday, which is the skate park down the street, 2 o'clock to 3:30. So a little bit statistic about people visiting us, specifically here in this community. In March, we got about 45 people visiting us. We were just starting, so things were going slow. But after promoting online, we also asked our community partners to promote school districts, neighbors, friends. And in April, we're actually seeing a lot more people coming visiting us. The month-to-month growth is actually 26%, and we're expecting this to continue to grow in the summer. Weather's gonna be nice, and kids gonna be out of school. They have more time to come visit the Pokemon, and so yeah, we are expecting on it to continue to grow. We're also working with local schools at El Granada School down the street. We visited 14 classes so far, and we visited over 100 students came to the Pokemon and visited us. View School, we partner with them for their March Reading Madness program, and we serve almost 100 students and parents at the event. If you want to get a copy of the bookmobile schedule, you can visit our website. Just search for bookmobile schedule, and you'll see all the bookmobile stuff that we have, and everything is posted on our website.
So then I wanted to highlight some upcoming programs. This Saturday at the Ted Adcock Community Center, rather than the library, local El Granada resident, Sean Harris, and Matt Barnett will speak about their books, graphic novels, First Cat in Space. And then we have a jazz concert Tuesday, April 30th at 6 o'clock. We have yoga every Monday at 1 o'clock. Ukulele Jam is coming back. That is brought to us by one of our volunteers. We have ukuleles to check out, so if you don't have one, that starts every Monday at 7. And then offer an ESL class every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. And then the VA Medical Band comes to Half Moon Bay every other month. And so they will be here Monday, May 13th. So that is just sort of a small sampling of some of the events that we have.
Activities are. Can you say a little more about the VA medical?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So this is, so the VA sometimes comes with a doctor or a nurse practitioner. And they're there for 4 hours and meet with any veterans or family members of veterans. Sometimes the County Veteran Service Office also comes. And then sometimes we'll bring other veteran agencies. So we've been doing it. Probably for about five years. Pre-pandemic, it was monthly. Post-pandemic, it's sort of was quarterly. Now it looks like it's every other month. So yeah, it's just a wonderful opportunity to reach our local veterans. So then I mentioned earlier that we're doing a survey. So we're in the process of doing our strategic planning. So just starting it. So we do have a survey in English, Spanish, and Chinese where we're asking for everyone's feedback on library services and sort of other county services as well. I do have packets for you all, and it has the survey in it. So it has our annual report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that is our presentation. We'd love to hear any questions that you might have.
Sure. Let me, if I may, I could jump in there. I mean, first, I just want to say, really big fans of the library. Most of the books that I read prior to going to college came from libraries because my parents could not afford to buy them. So very supportive of what you're doing. I saw the graphs kind of flew by pretty fast there, but it looks like COVID destroyed the user base of the library. It looks like it is bouncing back, but not yet pre-COVID levels of in-person usage. But it also looked like maybe the combination of in-person plus digital is now actually higher than it was pre-COVID. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's in the annual report that you have more of the data as well. So
Okay.
it's been that.
Great. Is there anything that we as a council can be doing to be supportive of your work?
So, well, inviting us to, so any of the local events that anybody in the Midcoast, And then just reaching out as questions come up, new services that you would be interested in offering, or having us offer, just, we're here to listen and to support any of your information needs.
Great. Claire, did you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, I would echo what Gus said about growing up and using the library extensively, constantly. And if you, just for everybody else here that wasn't here a few years ago when you first opened, we do have a plaque in your staff room with our name on it, congratulating you. So we're still in your recording. It seems like, unlike when we were kids, the communities, that the libraries really turned into kind of a community center. At least that's how I would look at it. And we're always asking for a community center, so maybe we have one. But I like to go in there and look at books and see what's new and what I might want to read. And you can't do that. There's no books in there. So I guess, what would you say about that?
Sure. So, well, one thing, there are a lot of books checked out. So the most popular books are in the hands of readers, which is wonderful. But we have such a robust hold system. So you can borrow books from any of the libraries within San Mateo County. You can also borrow books from using our Link Plus system. So you can borrow books from larger public libraries as well as academic libraries. So if there are more sort of esoteric subjects that you're interested in. The other thing is you can also request us to purchase books. And when those books come in, you're the first on the hold list. So there's a wide variety of ways that you can get access to books that you might not see in the library. We also have another collection called In Luck. And those are the really, really popular books that have long hold lists that don't have holds. And so if you're lucky, if you come into the library and those books are on the shelf. So that's sort of another way of making books available for people to browse, making the more popular books available to browse.
I also want to add that the bookmobile collections is actually not holdable. So we also get some of the most popular items on the bookmobile and people cannot place hold them. So if you come to the bookmobile, and a lot of people do that, they would look at the most popular DVDs and books come on the bookmobile and they will find it here. And they don't have to wait in line at the library.
So yeah, that actually is an amazing resource if you're looking for hotspot state park passes, any of the bestsellers that are often on the bookmobile.
Other council.
What's the difference between San Mateo County, your system, and the Peninsula Library system? And when you said we can access through your library the Peninsula Library system?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Peninsula Library System is a library consortia, which means it's a group of libraries that have binded together. We collectively provide our catalog. So when you're searching on our website for an item, you're searching the entire Peninsula Library System collection, whether it's this, Daly City Public Library or Burlingame or Redwood City, or of course, any of our 13 locations. And that means like our collection is shared. So when you place a hold, it goes out into the system and finds the quickest copy and gets it to you as quickly as possible. And that also creates a lot fewer barriers for people to have access to the library wherever they live, because they may live near a library that is not the most convenient library for them. They may work in another area. And so they don't have to worry about, am I in this city that has its own city library or in a county library? We can make library cards for any library, whether you're, any resident of California, but especially any resident of the county.
Okay, thanks.
Of course.
Yeah, I have like 6 questions. I'll try maybe not to ask all of them.
Great.
And I do support the value of libraries. They were great when I was a kid. Do we have a copy of this presentation for posting on the website? Or can we have it?
I emailed it
Oh,
to you.
yes, yes. That's
Okay,
correct.
great.
Able to be added forward to you.
In this circular graph, and maybe we just heard the answer, the city of San Mateo is not shown.
The city of San Mateo is a city library, not, I know, confusing, right? Not part of the county system.
Okay. Can you still check out e-readers? What are they called? Kindle and that stuff?
No, we don't check out e-readers, but we have a ton of e-resources if you have an e-reader. So, and
So
we
you
all,
can get some sort of flash drive or something to get the book or what?
you would download the resource onto your e-reader. We have a variety of different Hoopla, Libby, what
They
else?
usually have apps now,
Yeah.
so people, a lot of people with a tablet or your phone, people will just download to this app. So you can access our e-resources through the app. So instead of using a designated e-reader.
Could I get it on my laptop?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can use it on the web browser as well.
Sorry to show my age here. Are you still accepting book donations?
The Friends of the Library are accepting book donations and they have monthly book sales. They just had a book sale last Saturday. And so just bring them down, any 2 boxes, anytime the library is open. If it's more than that, we can reach out.
Are you still charging late fees?
Hooray! No, we got rid of late fees. So that is wonderful.
And I might have a clue, but I think it would be useful if you'd explain what a maker is to the audience that's listening tonight.
Oh, sure. So let's see, do you want to talk about that one?
I think we want to encourage that everyone is a maker. And, not only, the library is not only a place to provide information, materials to read, but also want to provide like an experience so that you can actually, we have a lot of makers programs that you can participate and people can actually learn by building stuff, but a hands-on experience. So that's part of the learning process.
Are these those plastic printers or what is this?
Sure, so at the Makerspace in Half Moon Bay, and the same resources are available on the Makermobile. So we have 3D printers, laser cutters, sewing machines. I think all us has a sewing class going on right now at the library. We have virtual reality. And then we have laptops, and we have some robotics. We have laptops that have the Adobe Suite on it, so you can make that way. And are always adding sort of new
Thanks very much.
Great.
Thanks. All right, Dan, then Camille.
Yeah, thanks, Anne, for your presentation. I'm just kind of curious, it's first I heard, I've been to a library, but I haven't really walked around looking for books. So is it obviously we're not stocking books, is that?
No, we still stock, and we purchase a lot of books for the collection, but they get checked out by patrons, and so the really popular books will all be checked out and will often have a longer list. So
we can reassure you the library is still full of books.
yes, yes.
It's kind of
So
I said earlier, there's no books, but you meant the books that you want.
No, even just to browse, there are, I would like to see more books.
So the books, but it's not, maybe not like the old libraries.
So it's also San Mateo County Libraries, it's a floating collection. So if you picked up a book in Pacifica and returned it in Half Moon Bay, it would stay in Half Moon Bay. So the collection is always being refreshed by your neighbors who, and the topics that they're interested in. So that's also another way of bringing sort of more books. But yeah, we are always purchasing a lot of books.
Thank you.
Cameron.
I also lived at the library when I was a kid. And I also, like Claire, like to browse books and just, sit in the library and read through a lot of things. And so I'm curious, the electronic resources, I'm curious how you maintain those, because I imagine, this says 28,820 laptops circulated. So how do you all of those resources, how do you maintain the electronic resources so that the cost of maintaining them doesn't overwhelm the budget?
So, I'll give it a try and then Mary can step in. So we, we set aside a certain amount of budget for a variety of resources. And we are pretty diligent about when items come back that we, refresh them and make sure that they're in good shape. So they will have sort of a long longevity. Our patrons are great and often are usually take good care of the materials we purchase. We also have sort of a regular cycle. We know that, say the computers will have them for 3 years or 5 years, and then set aside a budget to sort of refresh them when it's time.
I would just also add that we have found that because so much of the world is now living in the cloud and the library, the material or the hardware that we use is actually, not a huge, it's not, we don't need huge amounts of memory for saving files because of course they reset after every use. And so we are able to maintain a fleet of Chromebooks essentially, which are actually not terribly expensive. So we're not buying high-end MacBooks that cost thousands of dollars a piece. We're buying, very durable, very usable, and for most of what people need them for, not quite 98% of what you would like to, well, maybe not as much. Combined with our maker mobile and maker equipment, we probably are catching everybody. So, most people are using it for email, communication, maybe online classes, entertainment, and most of that is available via browser. So we keep costs down that way too by providing a product that is meets most people's needs, but it's not terribly pricey and easy to replace.
So it fits in your budget, and I'm really curious about library budgets because I'm always hearing library budgets are kind of the first thing that gets cut, right? So it sounds like your budget is pretty healthy for what you need it for.
Yes, because we are a joint powers authority, we're not actually a county department. Our funding structure is separate from the county's funding structure. Of course, it relies on property taxes and other funding sources that the county also relies on. But because of that, our budget is quite strong and quite resilient. And we're incredibly lucky for that reason. And we are able to invest in our communities and take a greater load and share of the responsibilities of providing library services for the entire county. And we take great pride in it.
That's great. And I just would like to thank you all for, I feel like librarians are sort of the caretakers of our society. I mean, you ensure that democracy keeps going, that our country, you're a pivotal place for communities. And you ensure that the table is level so that no matter where you come from and what your resources, personal financial resources are, that everybody gets a shot at the same opportunities. And I think that's very important. So I really appreciate all three of you for what you do. So thank you.
Well said. I'll let you know when there's a role in our communications department.
Awesome. Any other council comments? Okay, then let's open it to the what's it? Yes, I see it. Yes. So we'll open it. Sid, go for it.
I have a question. I can't hear because she's using the microphone in the room. There's kind of an echo. And I thought I heard them say, do you still accept donation? And then she said they have lots of book sales. So am I to understand that the books that people might donate just get sold off at book sales, or do you actually shelve them and let people check them out? Or is it just depending on the kind of book?
Yeah, so all the donations go to the Friends of the Half Moon Bay Library, and then they sell them, and then the proceeds from the book sales help with funding library programs and different activities. So we don't add donations to the collection. There's a lot of library processing that's involved, and it's cost cost effective to just purchase books directly from the book vendors that can do all the library processing, rather than having us do the processing after we receive the books.
I'm not really sure what you mean by processing, but that's okay. And the other thing is, I used to really love going to the library, and I did go to the one in Belmont to take the Master Gardener training class years ago, and it was beautiful. And they had a really quiet room. And then I went to the Half Moon Bay Library after they got their remodel, and I was upstairs in this sort of like open area, and I was reading, and all of a sudden the whole feel of the library changed. And I guess school next door had let out, and it became like a daycare in there. And why are kids allowed to shout and scream and run around in libraries? Because when I was a kid, that was a big no-no. When did that change?
So interesting, the Master Gardener is actually, they're offering their class at the Half Moon Bay Library right now, on Wednesdays. And it's sort of a mixture. We have zones in the library. So the children's area is much louder. We have a quiet room in the back of the library where we sort of offer, quiet in the space and recommend that people don't talk in that space. We have study rooms that people can book if they're going to have meetings. We do have the teen room, so some of the teen activities go there. So it's really just sort of a balance of, finding the right zone for how you want to use the library. And as we've done more community-oriented programs, libraries are different than they used to be. And we are next to Cunha, so we say it's like the Cunha wave that comes after school.
I only experienced it once, but it was unpleasant because of the open floor plan. All the noise from downstairs filtered right up to the level I was on, and I didn't know that if you're an adult and you want to avoid that, you need to go search out the quiet room. Because when I was growing up, libraries were quiet. You were shushed if you raise your voice too loud. So that was a big surprise to me. And the last thing I wanted to ask was, I think I went once over to the Redwood City Public Library because they had a Fix-It clinic sponsored by the Office of Sustainability. And then they had one and one only that I was aware of class at the Half Moon Bay Library about mending, and it was great. But do they have them very often on the coast, or you have to leave the area to get to have those? Do you know?
Yeah, so we partnered and we want to do more partnerships with the Fix-It Clinic. The most recent one we did in Pescadero. So I guess we've done 2 this year in Pescadero, serving the South Coast. But yeah, using the makerspace and the community room, we hope to bring more Fix-It clinics back to the library.
I really enjoyed that. And it wasn't in the noisy part of the library, so it was even better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Jane, do you have a question for me?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment. On Nextdoor, I think there's a lot of us seniors who really enjoyed going up to the stacks and finding new materials and new subjects we were interested in. But I think a lot of us have not really transitioned to the wealth of offerings that you have. And I was thinking it would be fun to offer a class to help seniors transition. It might be called something like, I hate the library, I love the library. And, or if that's too sort of labor intensive, maybe have a little video showing. I was surprised someone said there are Tai Chi classes there. I've been looking for a Tai Chi class, but I think that a lot of us do love our memories of the library. They're very special, but I think that there's so much richness now that we can plug into if we could just get a little bit more guidance on how to do that. But thank you for your presentation. It was wonderful.
Yeah, we do offer tech tutor sessions, so people can schedule time with the library staff member to work through whatever tech issues they have. And we do offer those in English and Spanish. So.
Cool. All right, any other public comments?
None.
Okay, great. Closing public comment. Thank you so much, Anne, Juan, Mary. Appreciate the presentation. Okay.
Thank you.
Then it's time to go on to our next agenda item. We have Nicholas Calderon from San Mateo County Parks here with us to just give us some quick updates
Do I need to
on.
make them co-host for a presentation?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I guess he'll let us know if I'm wrong about that, but I don't think so. Nicholas,
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah, good evening, everyone. Greg, I wasn't able to hear your question specifically. What was that?
I wanted to know if you need to be co-host in order to present materials.
No. I appreciate that offer. Thank you. No, I really just wanted to make myself available tonight. In the agenda packet is my response to the Midcoast Community Council's December 13th, 2023 letter. And in it, the department addresses, really discusses its integrated pest management program or its IPM program, which, as I elaborate on in the letter, is an ecosystem and science-based strategy that focuses on efficient and long-term prevention of pests and their degradation of the ecosystem. And and you have it right there. So I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I really encourage people to not just read the letter, but also watch the Achieving Healthy Ecosystem Forum from January 31st of this year, which was held in direct response to several conversations that were had at the Midcoast Community Council. And so we are well aware that this was a priority, and we were really excited to be able to have some public conversation that just focused on what our integrated pest management program and vegetation management practices were. I think a couple things, really just two things that I want to call out. Two things that I really want to call out is one, I think it was brought to my attention that there was a misconception walking away from that forum, and that was that somehow we use herbicide first and we use non-chemical treatments second, and that's not the practice. We look to use non-chemical treatments first, and only then do we turn to herbicide if it is necessary. But it is not the other way around, and I'm not sure if a lot of people walked away with that understanding or just a couple, but I wanted to make that really clear. I think the other thing I wanted to inform the group about was that earlier this month, to the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Ray Mueller, Supervisor Dave Pine, met with representatives from the El Granada Advocates, Protect Our Watershed, and Non-Toxic Neighborhoods, as well as myself. And we discussed the department's response letter. And at the conclusion of that meeting, the supervisors were really excited about the proposals that the department made in that letter, and really was excited about us increasing transparency, us increasing notification, and us continuing to field test new strategies. And those are our commitments that we stand by, and we intend to release our first integrated pest management report this summer, which will elaborate on all of our land management practices and stewardship efforts to control invasive species. But the supervisors also were very clear that they recognize, in order to protect the biodiversity within our system and in order to continue managing invasive species, that we have to continue to utilize tools when they're most effective. And so there was no effort at that time to instruct the department or require the department to stop using herbicides, but also putting a great focus on the need for us to, again, be more transparent, provide greater notification, and really take our field testing of new strategies to a higher level. And so that was the conclusion of that meeting. And so I wanted just to share that with the group and make myself available to answer any questions you may have.
Awesome. Really appreciate that, Nicholas. So, first I just want to get kind of council reactions
Can I,
to.
can I ask a point of order?
Yeah.
So there are potentially several things Nicholas could talk about. The air curtain burner is another one.
Right.
So.
Yeah, do you want to do one issue at a time, Greg?
Feedback also.
Right.
I'm wondering how we're going to orchestrate this. Are we going to have the community ask questions and then the council state, or what are we going to do on each of these three topics?
My thinking was first, just, since they have given us their letter on, responding to us, just a sense for everyone, do we feel that we had an adequate response to the letter that we sent, just as a council? And then, I just wanted to get a sense from the community on, their, feeling about the letter, that Nicholas and his team put together. And then we, once we do that, if we've got some other things on the table, like the burner and the curtain burner and such, we could have, I think, maybe a little bit more of a back and forth on that, if we need to. But I kind of want just to address, I want to kind of come to some resolution with the letter and kind of the herbicide issue, and then get to, because the curtain burners is a separate issue. Does that make sense?
My only concern is that I would prefer to hear from the community before I make a conclusion about whether we're satisfied with the letter.
Well, I'll just follow up and take out to the community usually.
Yeah, I mean,
However you want to do it.
okay. I think it's reasonable to just give our own reactions first, and then we'll take the community, and then, if we need to revise where we are based on community feedback, we can. I mean, just to sort of set the stage, I mean, to me, kind of, observing the whole process, I mean, the things that I see are, I see a group of citizens like getting educated on an issue, like taking action and advocating for changes. I see Nicholas and his team responding to those, to those concerns and making, a non-trivial number of changes to their process in light of the concerns that were brought forth by the community. So I see advocacy, I see government responding to that advocacy. I would argue, and we, I think, played a reasonable role in helping kind of shepherd that process along, which I mean, to me, I see everybody kind of did what they were supposed to do in this process. And so when I look at, when I read Nicholas's letter, I was like, okay, I think these all seem like reasonable adjustments to their process. I think I always felt it was important that we be careful not to tell Nicholas and his team how to do their job. Like I don't know how to manage parks. I don't know nothing about that. So I think our job was just to facilitate a discussion between the people we represent and Nicholas and his team. And I thought we did a good job of that. So I think, to me, we're kind of at a stage where, I mean, Nicholas has proposed making some changes to their process, and I would like to just kind of give him and his team some time to run the revised process, and then let's, maybe revisit it, at the end of the year or a year from now to kind of see like, how is it going now that we have a revised process in place? Have we been, Nicholas is committed to greater transparency and, some other things like that. Let's give him and his team time to, to live up to those commitments, and then let's just check in after a while and see. Like, that's kind of where I am on it. I think everybody did good work, and I think everybody should be applauded for that. That's kind of where I am with it. So, but I would love to hear from everybody else on the council as well. So how about we start with Dan and just work our way around? Is that good? You ready? Go for it.
All right, thanks, Nicholas. I have a few questions. Number one, set it up first that, I think myself and a lot of the community members,
Hey, Dan.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can you talk into the microphone a little bit more? I'm sorry, I'm having just trouble hearing. I apologize for interrupting you. I want to make sure I hear everything you're saying.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now clearly?
Much better. Thank you, Dan.
Okay. So, myself, members of the community and many members of the broad, community is very interested in seeing a significant reduction of pesticide use. So, you know, I have read your letter, but I didn't see anything as far as documenting, like, moving forward, how the reduction is taking place. You know, which areas. I know it's very complex, but I think I would like to see something of that sort. Something that, okay, we use so many whatever gallons of this product this year, and our goal is to kind of reduce. Let's see. And then also I'm very interested in you know, like okay. Certain parks have, you know, maybe more invasive, you know, certain types of invasive species. You know, one park, and you know, what are the, you know, what are the top three? What are we, you know, what are we putting the pesticides on? And you said earlier that our first step is to not use them. So what are the mechanical methods that you first try? How does that work? And then, so for each species, you know, what have you been doing and how is that working? Interested in that. And, you know, I think generally with herbicides, you know, the idea is, okay, well, it's going to be less labor intensive. Let's just spray it, one and done, we're done, we don't have to deal with it anymore, versus having a mechanical method that might take a few passes and might create, you know, jobs for people that are really interested in doing this kind of work. So I'm interested in, you know, I know you have your park staff, but, you know, they're limited. They've got a lot of other things to do. Is there a potential for having, you know, I don't know, intern college students, people that are interested in this kind of stuff, you know, at a reasonable rate of pay or volunteer, you know, doing some of this work and concerned with some outdated information and making sure that everything that, you know, is up to date. Some of the science facts, there was a science fact quote, you know, I'm curious as, you know, who is, you know, which science, who's funding this science, you know, who's behind it, kind of interested in information there. It's science fact is kind of a, for me personally, it's a little loose term. It's used loosely a lot. Yeah, I'm very interested in the alternative methods that you know, that you have been trying. So personally, I'd like to see more specific information shared. I think that's all I have for now.
Gus, do you want me to respond one at a time? How would you like me to do this?
Yeah, I think that was like 3 different questions, so probably best to go ahead and respond to that now.
All right. Yeah, and Dan, through the chair, Dan, I appreciate those questions. I think a lot of the information you're asking for is what our annual IPM report is going to include, which will come out this Sunday. Or I'm sorry, this summer. Not this Sunday, this summer. So I think a lot of the, I just want to be really clear about that one. I think I see Claire laughing, so you can see that I'm starting to panic on that one. No, I think a lot of the information you're asking for is what that report is. And so I look forward to hearing your feedback on our first iteration of that report this summer. As for reducing, you know, it sounds like what I'm hearing is you want to cap how much chemical treatment occurs annually, right? And so, you know, essentially what that means is we would say, okay, well, we're not going to remove eucalyptus trees at Quarry Park, because we have to, when we do large scale fuel reduction projects like that, treat those eucalyptus so they don't grow back at a rate of, 4 to 6 feet a year. And so by doing that, what you're doing is you're taking critical projects off the table. And I don't necessarily think that that is in the best interest of public safety. And I don't think when you look at the regrowth that is naturally occurring after these projects, when you see the native vegetation growing back from the seed bank, it shows that doing something like that would actually not be in the for the betterment of the local ecology. So I would have concerns about that. And I think there was one other question in there, but I might have lost track of it. But ultimately, I think, Dan, what the information you're asking for is what the IPM report is. Trying to cap that use, I think, would actually end up having detrimental impacts to the community and to the landscape. And with the idea of what are we doing to reduce use or to reduce that use, that's why we're field testing different strategies. That's why we and in the letter I list a whole list of different mechanical methods we use, of different field test strategies that we've used. And so that's why we go through that process, so that we can broaden our knowledge and understand what type of treatment methods work in what type of environments.
Yeah, as far as alternative methods, just to use the term using hand tools and hand picking, just every different invasive species has a different plan of attack, in my opinion, and then also the has the soil been disturbed? Has it been, is drainage proper? So there's a lot of information that I'm interested in, and maybe it will be included in the report you're mentioning. It's coming out in summer.
I think a lot of it will. I can't promise that every piece of information that you ever want to know is going to be included in it, but I think a lot of the information you're asking for will be included in it.
Okay, well, I look forward to looking at it, and we'll always have the opportunity to follow up.
Exactly. Yep. Scott?
Hey, I just wanted to say, hi, Nicholas. I just wanted to say, I really appreciate you coming in and spending the time with us. And I really appreciate the feedback that you've given us in the letter. I think this is how government's supposed to work. And I'm just really happy that it happened. I haven't watched the video yet, but I read the letter, and the one thing that I always find scary, and sometimes I think the public finds scary, is the term field testing. But I guess that's the best way to change and make things better, right? So use less pesticides and just see how they work. So again, I just want to say thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. And if after you watch that video you have any questions, please let me know. And I hear you with regards to the term field testing. If we can come up with something better, I certainly am all for it. But we have a remarkable natural resource management staff, and we have phenomenal partners in the area that we get to work with. And so these are done at the highest quality level possible.
Thanks.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas, for coming tonight. And I read the letter with great interest, and I had a similar response as Gus's, that I thought this was a great way for how this process should work. And I think there's a lot of good stuff in here that I was happy to see. A few things did pop out at me. The transparency part, which was something that was really important to me. I think the IPM report is a great idea, and I'm looking forward to that first version to sort of see what the data tells us. That said, then we get to the next part in this, and the accountability part says this is not within the purview of the San Mateo County Parks Department.
Mhm.
So I guess what I'd like to know is, how do you see accountability occurring? If it's not in the Parks Department, where does that accountability come in?
Great question, and thank you for that. That comes down to the Board of Supervisors and the county executive, and the board. I think something that I've mentioned in the past, and I maintain, is that this conversation right now that's happening is amongst a a group of residents that are in one section of the county, right? But we're a county of 800,000 residents that spans, San Francisco, this line up north with San Francisco, the line down south with Santa Cruz and Santa Clara. And we have 5 elected members of the Board of Supervisors who are responsible for that oversight. And we did have that conversation during our meeting earlier this month that I referenced at the beginning. And both supervisors at that time acknowledged that the role of holding us accountable is theirs, and that's not just their role, their obligation and their job. And so I think that's where that lies.
Okay.
And that's how it's also make sure that they represent all the residents in the county. And so that's how we make sure that everyone's represented in that process.
So it sounds like then accountability really comes down to citizens reporting to the Board of Supervisors when they see something that they feel is not quite going the way it should. And then the Board of Supervisors would respond to that. Is that sort of encapsulate?
Well, I would say if so I guess before I answer that question, what I would say is you absolutely have a right to approach your elected official about anything, anytime, right? So I don't want my answer to be interpreted as me saying when you can or cannot go to an elected official. So I just want to kind of put that out there as a preface. But I think in the spirit of what you're saying, if we say in the letter, we say that we are changing our notification process, and we do not comply with that, you absolutely should bring that to your representative. And I also hope that you'll bring that to my attention. And they're making sure that I have an opportunity to correct a wrong. But also, you can absolutely go to your representative for that.
Okay, I guess what I'm getting at is, are there any other checks and balances in here that would aid in accountability that are built into the process that you've outlined, besides the Board of Supervisors?
I mean, I think that the Board of Supervisors is who holds us accountable, and the Board of Supervisors is responsible for holding all county departments accountable. I guess the only other level of accountability would be with the county executive. Right. And so that would be 2 levels there. Okay.
Really love this pesticide pilot that you have written in here. I think that's a great idea. Then going down to item 5, where it says implement a staff, landscaper, and third-party contract to prevent them from benefiting from financial incentives or using vendor rewards programs that motivate the purchase of pesticides. I kind of looked into this a little, and it actually is a big deal. This happens frequently, and it encourages large amounts of pesticides to be purchased that often are never used. So there's 2 things there. There's purchasing more pesticide that maybe you have to use because you've purchased it with public dollars and you're using it just for the sake of using it because you purchased more. But there's also this sort of other perverse thing in that you waste public dollars on something that is not used. I guess what I'd like to know is, and that also says this is not within the purview of the San Mateo County Parks Department. So I guess what I'd like to know is, what are your thoughts on how you prevent that kind of use of the system in purchasing?
Yeah, great question. Great question. And so So I just wanted to make sure I was reading that right before I answered my question. So, and when I say that's not within the purview of the San Mateo County Parks Department, what I mean by that is whether that comes in a form of a change in policy at the county level, right? Because we're not the only county department that is living in this realm, right? So there are other county departments that also work with chemicals. And so anything that would be done would not be done at the Parks Department level, it would be done at the county level. And so that's why I'm saying that's outside of our purview. That's really something that falls within the realm of the Board of Supervisors. And it is my understanding, and I believe that in the most recent letter that one came out earlier this week, it references that Supervisor Mueller is pursuing something along this realm where we would, the county would not allow someone doing work for us on our land to receive these incentives or kickbacks or rebates. I forget the specific term used, but essentially kickbacks. And I think that that's absolutely appropriate. I don't think kickbacks on public dollars are appropriate. So I do stand, I think that's the right move. I would say it's important to understand the process for when we do contract to use an herbicide. And so we don't, the San Mateo County Parks Department, don't go to a store and say, hey, we're removing 100 acres of eucalyptus. Give us 5 gallons of this. What we do is we work with a state licensed pest control advisor who looks at the circumstances in their totality. So we'll look at what is the species that we're trying to control or treat for. What is the environment it is in? How much, what is the size of the project scope, all of that. What is the application method? And then they will write a prescription for that specific project that will, and then we will take that prescription and we will hand that to a contractor who has to follow that prescription to a T. So this is not me saying that what you're referencing doesn't happen globally, as it says in the most recent letter. I don't deny that one bit. What I'm saying is it's the process we go through when it has been determined that we need to use chemical treatment for something. It's more robust and thoughtful than just us going down to Home Depot and grabbing something. And so I wanted to provide that just as background. But to answer your question, I support this effort wholeheartedly.
Okay, so I appreciate that response, and I think it would have been helpful if you had included that in the letter for the inquiring minds who want to know. Having someone else within the county that actually handles the purchasing can go 2 ways, right? That person can develop relationships that are I guess sort of symbiotic in a way. And then that encourages, continuing to build that relationship by purchasing more from certain people. So I guess I would be curious how that's addressed. But I think it would be good to sort of outline what that process looks like for the public.
Yeah, we happy to work on something for that. Really quickly, the state licensed pest control advisor is a third party, so it's not a county employee, and then the firms that we contract with to do the application are third parties as well. So nonetheless, I hear what you're saying. We can put something together, and I do wholeheartedly support the effort to prevent kickbacks, for lack of a better expression, being received while working on public funds, while working with parks funds.
I appreciate that response. Thank you, Nicholas.
Yeah.
Awesome. Claire?
Nicholas, I read your letter. I agree with what Gus said. It seemed like the kind of response that you would hope to get from a government agency to community concerns. It seemed relatively measured and willing to make some changes that seemed reasonable. I've also read I read the letter that the El Granada people wrote. I read the other item here about the state policies. I read the statement that the
Recording stopped.
the Green Foothills people put out about integrated pest management. I read a lot of things about glyphosate itself, and I would say that none of them make me want to use it in
Recording
any way
in progress.
that I would, if I didn't have to use it. Some of it seemed alarming, some of it seemed alarmist. But I'm the only one here, I think, who is both a physician and a master gardener. And I'm used to dealing with chemicals that can hurt people and can hurt other things, and using them effectively and judiciously and in the right way. I'm thinking about propofol killed Michael Jackson. Fentanyl has killed thousands of people and is a major epidemic. But if you're going to have cataract surgery or you're going to have a colonoscopy, you want to have some propofol or some fentanyl because it's being used in an appropriate setting by someone who's trained to know how they're using it and what it's doing to you and how to keep you safe. And that's how I feel about this stuff too. I can't tell somebody how to do their job. I have to assume that people who are experts in their field know what they're doing and know when it's safe to use these chemicals that are dangerous and when it's not safe. And I think it's totally appropriate for people to question them and say, what are you doing? Why? What else could you be doing? But it's not our place, I don't think, to say, don't use the tools that you have that you know that you can use effectively and safely. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Claire.
Thanks, Claire.
Well, so I am making summary comments before having heard all the community, but I will make 5 points. First, I want to thank the El Granada advocates who raised an important issue and stimulated useful and material county parks responses. I'm grateful for that. As I think Gus said, this is the way the government should be working, or maybe Scott said that. I am also familiar with the fact that profit bends science. And I've seen that in fossil fuels. I've seen that in opioids. So I think the concerns that Kimberly was raising about inappropriate influence from financial incentives are also valid and need to be watched. Thirdly, and Claire touched on this, we seem to have conflicting community sentiment. But some of the letters we received lacked footnotes to sources, weren't peer-reviewed study evidence. But and even the El Granada advocates had some links that didn't work for me in their letters. So it seems to be a tension between controlling invasives, avoiding damaging the soil, spending too much money, causing erosion, and then the harms from the chemicals. Okay, and this gets back to what Claire was saying at the end. We have dedicated people studying this issue, and we have to rely on them absent some sort of independent evidence of near-term harm. And one way we could get that is looking at comparable opinions and practices in other countries and other counties. That might be productive. I personally don't have the time to study that, okay? I would note my research shows that the European Union's most recent position on glyphosate is that it approved its continued use for another 10 years with new restrictions. And that decision was made in November 2023 after the member states couldn't reach an agreement. So they just continued what they were doing with some extra restrictions. Some individual EU countries still have restrictions or partial bans in place. So I view this issue as still worthy of inspection and study. But absent more compelling evidence, I think we should go, as Gus suggested, with 1 year with this program and revisit the need for more controls, whether it's on the purchase and stockpiling or use and other prohibitions, looking for what else is being done in other counties and jurisdictions. And then finally, if I read it right, one of the things the El Granada advocates asked in their reply was for an MCC letter. But we gave a letter of support for their asks, and it was their asks that stimulated this. So I am a little confused about what the immediate ask of the council is, and that's the end for me.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, I mean, just to kind of synthesize, I think everything we just heard. I think the general sense of the council is this was a reasonable and measured, I think was the word, and thoughtful response. I again want to reinforce what Greg said about thanking El Granada advocates for bringing this up. It's, it is a real concern. Chemicals are a real concern. I think what we have is an opportunity now to just, with the increased communication, the increased transparency, to give Nicholas and his team the year to let's try out this new stuff, and let's absolutely stay on top of it and see where we are in a year. That's kind of what I think. But now we've got community feedback, so I want to make sure that we address that. I want to start with Lisa Ketchum. So Lisa, do you have something to ask Nicholas or a comment to make? Is she there? She's going. Oh, she's still there.
Maybe she stepped away.
Oh, okay, maybe she stepped away. All right.
Oh, she's coming back.
Okay.
Sorry, you caught me off guard. I thought I was way down on the list. Okay, so, I can't turn my video on. Start video. Okay, whatever. I'd just like to offer another clarification to the El Granada Advocates' recent letter where they speak of spraying clear-cast herbicide on oxalis on Pillar Point Bluff first before using alternative methods to save butterfly larvae. So my comment is, there are no butterfly larvae on oxalis. The butterflies lay their eggs on specific host plants that the larvae eat. There are no native insects that eat oxalis, which is rapidly outcompeting native plants. That is the point of the restoration that captures the whole concept of the work that's being done to protect and restore the natural environment here. And I just want to say I look forward to Nicholas, to your detailed reports, because I am actively devoted to habitat restoration and eager to learn more about what techniques are working. And thanks so much for everything you do.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to Burnett, then Melinda, then Jane.
Okay, Burnett Silvera, El Granada. I did not see where you mentioned stormwater runoff from parks, particularly Quarry Park, and its ecological and safety impacts on the community. The MCC and many of us in El Granada have real concerns about the dangers the flooding stormwater runoff from Quarry Park poses to its neighbors and their property. The concerns also go to the quality of the runoff, since dogs drink it and children play in it when it's not at flooding levels. Do you have any updates you can share on how the Quarry Park runoff problem may be resolved? I bring this up specifically because I understand there will be a discussion of runoff at the upcoming Parks Commission meeting on Thursday, May 2nd, that will be held in Quarry Park at 4 p.m. Thank you for any insight you can give me on this. Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to throw in there on that, Nicholas?
First, I'll defer to the MCC, as that's not an agenda. That's not. You tell me what your protocol is, and I'm happy to follow.
I mean, if you got like one sentence on it,
Well,
go for it. But
if I may, I think
really,
partly that pesticides and herbicides are in stormwater runoff. Isn't that what the point that Burnett was trying to make?
that is one of the points that I'm making, yes.
I have no data on that one way or another. I think I guess all I can say, Burnett, is you are correct that the May Parks Commission meeting will be at Quarry Park, where we'll be discussing this further. We'll be discussing stormwater runoff in more detail.
Okay, so it sounds to me like the next real update on that is May 2nd. So I think we have to wait for that. Okay, Melinda, next.
Great, thank you. Thank you. I wanted to just clarify, and I have a couple things to say, and some news. First of all, though, I wanted to clarify that our request for a letter of support, I don't think we ever got, Greg, because I think you guys said you sent a letter, but it wasn't of support. It was saying we're neutral, we don't approve or disapprove. So, need some clarification on that. That was the last letter I saw. And then I just wanted to state that we are not a small group. We are working with a group down in La Honda as well. So this is not a very tiny part of the county. And we also have a sign-on letter with many people from different parts of the county that are signing on to our letter of asks. So, and we also are working with non-toxic neighborhoods who works with municipalities that know how to manage lands without pesticides. So we do have a lot of information on that, and that's with a lot of the alternatives that we've suggested. And we do have contacts for you, Nicholas, that we've shared with you to reach out to those people to find out how they're doing it. I wanted to say that we are also grateful that we were able to have that meeting with you and the supervisors, and that the parks is willing to do a lot of the things that we asked for. One of the things was improving transparency and improving some of the things, notifications, and then creating an annual report. The news that I have is, that also Ray Mueller had agreed to amend contracts. And I think he's working on that. I have not seen a press release about that yet, though. The news I have is that Douglas County in Colorado just sent out a press release that and a video that they're sharing, that they banned glyphosate and 2 4-D pesticides in their county. And they are also amending contracts, third-party contracts, landscaper contracts, and staff contracts to protect public funds from being used on cashback pesticides rewards programs. Now, I just also wanted to mention that the PCAs, we have a whole article about this. Those are basically people that are foxes guarding the hen house. That's what the article is even called. They are hired by the pesticide industry to consult. So it very much is a conflict of interests. We are going to continue to see how things go as a community and always continue to push for a reduction of pesticides. If you don't have records, it's true you don't know how much you've been using and what to improve. So there are other counties banning pesticides like glyphosate and transitioning off, so I think we can do it too eventually. And that was what we were pushing for. And we can change the IPM policy and try and make it happen. Those are, and there's the other thing about, okay, so you're questioning the research that we sent, but there's way more research than what we have that proves harm. And the EPA's final report cannot be ignored anymore. It's finalized, and it says that 93% of endangered species are likely injured or killed with the application of glyphosate. And the lawyers actually looked it over and found that information. So I also wanted to clarify that there was not a misconception. I mean, the parks meeting regarding the oxalis that was sprayed and several other things that seemed to be sprayed first it sounds like the go-to method is, it's been determined that those need to be sprayed first. Those specific types of plants need to be sprayed first. And it's told to the landscapers to just go ahead and spray them without trying again mechanical methods on them if you've determined before that the mechanical methods didn't work. So that is the part we're questioning about, because sometimes it seems like broom and pampas grass and oxalis are just sprayed first. Not sometimes, but it's regular. And that's what the landscapers told me, is that those are the certain plants are just sprayed without doing mechanical methods first. So I don't think it's maybe a misconception. I think there's a misunderstanding or some confusion about why you're saying that those plants are, not sprayed first when that's what happens to them. And you even said it in the parks meeting. So, and I just wanted to clear up the accountability issue. So the Board of Supervisors said that they were holding the parks accountable. So does that then mean, and this brings up the question, that the Board of Supervisors, with how busy they are going to be looking at pesticide use records and an annual report to see if it's, to hold them accountable to see if it's accurate, because that's a lot of work. So that's why we suggested a committee, like with citizens, to do oversight. The last thing, and regarding the larva, that was written in Nicholas's report, that they were protecting larvae, and that's why the oxalis had to be sprayed. So that's the other thing I wanted to address. Not sure if I covered everything, but I tried to. And thank you for everybody bringing up questions for Nicholas. There were great questions, and thank you to the MCC for hearing the community's concerns about this, because they're bringing this up because they're concerned about their health, the health of their children and their animals, their pets, and the health of the ecosystems, the precious ecosystems around us. So, and glyphosate has been in the news. I think there's a huge percent of the population who know it's not safe, and there's a ton of research out there. So, it's disappointing to us that the parks are still using it. So thank you.
Thank you, Melinda.
I just want to raise a point of information.
Yep.
Melinda is correct. On December 13th, 2023, the MCC letter, last sentence of the letter says the MCC has taken no position on this matter to date, pending your official response at that meeting and to this letter. So she's right. We merely asked them to comment on the asks. We didn't endorse the asks.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything that you wanted to respond to, Nicholas, or should I go to Jane next?
Yeah, I think just the two things that I would say is I would this doesn't have page numbers on it, but the letter I have says, when working in sites with high ecological sensitivity, which limits ground disturbance, for example, when working in grasslands, when federally listed butterfly larvae go into diapause at the base of native host plants, and mowing could cause severe harm and or death. So that's there's no reference of oxalis there, and Lisa Ketchum is correct that there's no reference of oxalis in that regard, and I'm not sure where Pillar Point Bluff comes into that, but so that's one. And I don't know who the landscapers are who were referenced, but if they're the contractors, they're brought in to do one specific task and that's it. So they're not present for the entire scope of the project. And we absolutely look at everything is on a we have to evaluate each site independently. And so a lot of times our projects are multi-year projects. And so, we do go through an evaluation process where sometimes if we can time it right, mowing is the right approach. Sometimes we will try techniques like steaming or flaming. Sometimes we will hand pull. And sometimes we use a combination thereof. And so, but we don't ever, just start spraying first and then say, let's come in later and do something else. So, I think it's more complex than what it was pitched as. And as for oversight, the Board of Supervisors does a phenomenal job, and the county executive do a phenomenal job of overseeing all county operations. And so, again, I do think that the Board of Supervisors, who's elected by the residents of this county, is the appropriate place for oversight to occur.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
All right, Jane, you're next. And then Natalie.
A couple of things. Thank you so much for the progress we've made. We really appreciate that. I wanted to comment that I'm never at this meeting to tell people how to do their jobs. That would be, I wouldn't even come to meetings if that was my goal. I'm here to represent the values of the community, talk about my concerns, and say, this is the goal I hope we're shooting for. Can we work in common for that? So please don't think that, I have quite a few questions on air burners, but my purpose is not to tell anyone how to do their job. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is I want to represent the people who really don't want chemicals used. In my household, I had an interesting background. My father's family came over in the 1600s, and they knew the American way. You overcome things, overcome all obstacles. My mother grew up in a more indigenous, it's not Native American, but indigenous culture, and you worked with nature. And so my hope is that we can get to the point where we're not using poisons anymore. When I think, okay, we're on a slippery slope, how much poison could I drink safely? Could one drop? Probably one drop won't kill me, but it might trigger some cancer in me. And I think, would I give that to an animal that can't speak up for itself or a baby? Of course not. So I hope that we hold in the goal that we will eventually stop using these. I think we've come a long way in ecology, and it's complex. I understand we've come a long way even in science, but we don't know what these chemicals are doing to the reptiles or the birds. We only know what they're doing to the lab rats. But Nicholas, you and I are on the same page. We love nature. So I'm hoping we can find common ground. And I ask that of you with the utmost respect. Thank you very much for listening.
And Jane, thank you for your comments, and I do appreciate what you said at the beginning, and I appreciate what you said at the end. And I hope people see that the letter that I sent back to the MCC, that was not something written in 20 minutes. That there was a lot of thought and effort and compassion that went into putting that together and making the decisions that were addressed in that. And I hope people see that I am here to work with the community, and I'm here to steward our land, and it's a balance of everything that we have in front of us. We will continue to pilot new approaches to grow our methods for treating and controlling invasive species. And I look forward to seeing where that takes us.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Jane. Natalie.
Hello, hi. I just want to, echo thank you, Nicholas, RCD, and the MCC for allowing this frank and open exchange of questions and ideas with the community. And I really appreciate all of the effort and all of the progress that's been made. Nicholas, you mentioned the Board of Supervisors is to hold RCD accountable to the plan that you themselves have come up with. And I'm just wondering how they can possibly do their job without the full transparency from RCD on the use of these poisons. The implication earlier in the discussion was that the citizens themselves should be policing RCD to report to the Board of Supervisors. And I'm not sure exactly if that's the intention or if there was another method of oversight that was implied. And if the MCC does indeed give RCD a year's probation of their current plan, how can we ensure the Board of Supervisors and MCC have the information needed at the end of that year to assess the future of the program? And to follow on from that, there is a lot of really toxic chemicals that have been found, not just listed on the pesticides themselves, but actually as as ingredients that are not listed, and these are going into our ecosystem and our land, and particularly the runoff into the ocean. And right now, with the results from the EPA and the continued banning of pesticides and things in the European countries as well, glyphosate is playing out a bit like DDT, and we need to find safer alternatives and actively engage in protecting our natural habitats. And that's just really crucial for preserving the health and beauty of our ecosystem locally and globally. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
And Natalie, briefly, as just a point of clarification, so I'm with the San Mateo County Parks Department, not the San Mateo Resource Conservation District. So while we partner with
miscommunication,
yeah, while we partner with the RCD, we're separate entities. But I do, I take it as a compliment to be compared to them, just because I think the RCD does phenomenal work, and I think we're very fortunate in this county to have Calix Nelson in the San Mateo RCD. So with that said, the way the board would hold us accountable is we are transparent, and we're transparent, and we do our work with integrity, right? I mean, the idea that we would somehow only share some information and not all information is not how we operate. We do not maliciously prepare reports to hide information. That's certainly not how I conduct myself. That's not how my expectations are for the department. So we would be very open and transparent with the information we have, and we would use that to work first to allow the board to have a full, accurate understanding, and then we would use that information to better ourselves and our practices.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas. All right, I see Melinda's hand is raised again. So Melinda, you want to give one more thing, and then I think we need to kind of wrap up and get on to the next agenda item. But Melinda, if you want to go ahead and give one more comment.
Yes, thank you so much. Oh, sorry. Nicholas, I'm sorry, I get so serious about this stuff, but I do want to express my gratitude to you again for being willing to make the changes that you did and listen to us. It was really important that you listened to us, and we do really appreciate it. And we do want to continue to work with you. And the last thing I wanted to address was Claire's point about using the pesticides kind of like a medication. But I do want to say, though, the problem with the idea of judicious use, target spraying, spot spraying, those terms are that they don't really quantify. They're very subjective, and they don't really quantify how much is being used. And so it's a tough situation, because then you see, for example, in some of the parks, the report, there was an area that a huge area that looked like it was sprayed. So is that target? Is that spot? And they're saying it's not broadcast. So it's that is the reason why we're pushing for as little as possible, because it's really hard to quantify it with those words that are being used. So I think that was a main point that I wanted to discuss. And I also wanted to say that right now we're trying to hold the county responsible, the entire county, not just the parks. We're directing our request to the county. So, and right now there's a whole situation in La Honda where Roundup was used on a large area, and we still don't know what was happened, who did it, or why, or what for. But that area flows directly, the watershed of it flows directly into the creek where people actually draw water from down there. So there's discrepancies and things that happen, and I don't know if the Department of Public Works even has an IPM or a policy. So this is why we're reaching out. There's things that have happened, and there is sometimes no accountability. So that is why we're doing what we're doing as citizens. Thank you so much for listening.
And if I can just piggyback on something Melinda said,
Sure.
That instance in La Honda that was just referenced, that was not a San Mateo County Parks property nor a San Mateo County Parks action. So I just want to be really clear with the group. And
Oh,
I know
yes.
Melinda wasn't saying that. I just wanted to excuse me. I wanted to clarify that was not my department. So I just wanted to be on the record as saying that.
Yes, sorry, I didn't make that clear. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Cool, awesome.
Can I ask one question?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Very quickly, closing public comment.
Yeah, and then I will close public comment. Go ahead.
Hey, Nicholas, I saw that the Curtin incinerator is put in the Murata Surfeast part of Quarry Park. When do you plan on firing that up? Do you know?
So through the chair, our hope would be to get that going around the 1st of May.
Okay.
So in a week. And Gus, how do you want to handle the rest of the item?
Yeah, well, just what, does anybody else on the council have, so Kimberly, do you want to?
Yeah, I want to follow up on the stormwater runoff issue because I think that is important. I mean, pesticides and herbicides that end up in water are a big deal. They distribute far and wide. And so maybe, I guess I'm wondering, is there any testing that we do for different areas just for that? And if we don't, is that something we should consider doing?
Kimberly, great question. So the San Mateo RCD does test water quality. They take water quality samples along the coast side. And
I don't think they test for glyphosate or other herbicides.
I would have to check with them the specific hits that they're looking for. But I'm not opposed to looking to figure out. Let me reach out to Calix in the morning and see what hits they do look for. I don't know, right? This could be one, this could not be one. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's really valuable information to have, even if we just did a spot test of different areas at different times of year to determine what is actually there, because until we actually test it, we don't know, how much is there, if any. So
could we record that as an action item?
To test the water.
I'm not sure that's
follow up on whether or not there is testing for these kinds of pesticides. And if not, consider in a future agenda item to request such.
Nicholas just said he was going to do it.
I know, but I wanted to record it as an action item.
Is that for someone here?
Well, but we have to make sure that it was.
So for the council, the action
Right.
item would be for us to follow up with Nicholas.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Yes. Okay, Ann, did you get that?
Yes, I think I got it here.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any other council things for Dan?
Hey, Nicholas, I was just looking at the attachment to your letter notice of oversight application.
So it's Dan, talk a little louder. I'm so sorry.
I was looking at the attachment to notice of oversight application.
Yes.
So, my guess is that that's a requirement by law in certain areas for you to notice the work you're doing. Is it also required by law to make a record of every application and how much is used and for what purpose, et cetera? Is that also on your records of what you're using where? Is that gonna be
That's what the IPM report will include.
okay, thank you.
Cool. Any other thing? Okay, great. Want to close this agenda item, Nicholas? Thank you so much for being here. You spent an hour of your time away from your family to address everyone's concerns. I don't see that happening everywhere in government, honestly. So I really appreciate that you spent that time.
Hey guys, I'm sorry to cut you off. And before Jane has her hand up and I think she has some questions. But I just want to say, I am always welcome, or no, well, I hope I'm always welcome back to this group. I am always happy to come and talk with you all at any point. And I think having open, frank dialogues with you all is important for the community and important for the work I do and important for the work you do. So I'm always happy to come. You give me a call and I'll make it work.
Awesome. Okay, so Jay, you said you wanted to ask about air burners, is that right?
Yeah, I did. I just Nicholas, I sent you a copy of the Los Alamos Hazard Control Plan. I just wanted to point out some of the things that I have concerns about. One is just general safety of the workers. It sounds like this work it's noisy, dangerous, and dirty, and that machine is going to run at 2,000 degrees. That document specifies all kinds of safety precautions, like, having horns so you can stop the work, and having harnesses so people are not falling into fires. I'm hoping that maybe, and I'm not telling you how to do your job, I'm just saying these are my concerns.
Yeah.
That, you could take a really close look at that, falls from ash pits and so forth. Some of the things that stood out the most to me were that they say if there's any accelerant spilled on the ground, if it's not cleaned up immediately and logged in, that once that area is left, someone could come and not know there was accelerant there.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was that they were testing the ash they ended up finding beryllium and uranium in the ash. Of course, that was in New Mexico, but they were concerned about it going into the waterways. So I don't know if you can test the ash that would be generated by the eucalyptus trees and see if there's any harmful chemicals that might go in the waterways. And my last comment is just that I'm very concerned about the safety of the workers after reading this. We had an accident I think it was in the Bay Area last year. I'm sure you know about it. A fellow there was a fatality over a chipper. And so I am hoping that the utmost safety is looked at, so we have very safe workers and a safe situation there. My preference again is that we just chip the wood, but those were my concerns. Thank you.
Jane, would you be able to email that to me again?
Yes, I would be happy to.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll pass that along to my staff that's managing this effort and make sure that all appropriate safety protocols are in place. And we are working with CAL FIRE on this, and CAL FIRE prioritizes safety above all. I am always worried about worker safety. I'm always worried about community safety. So I share those concerns. So yeah, if you can send those to me, I'll make sure we pass those along.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Okay. Let me, Melinda, if you're going to say something about burners, go for it, but make it really, really fast. And I'm closing public comment, and then we're going to have Kimberly say something, and then we're moving on. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my question is, last time at the meeting when Hannah was talking about the burner, she said they were going to put the ash on the ground and then water it down. And so I guess my question about that was, I was looking at some manufacturer guidelines regarding ash, and I think it said not to take it out of the burner and it just stays in there. And I think with potential natural uranium being produced in the ash, that might be dangerous. Do you know if that's still the plan, to put the ash on the ground?
Last conversation I had on this, we were still evaluating different options. So I'd be happy to I hate to do this. Timothy, I see your hands up though.
Yeah, Timothy, if you want to address this, go for it.
Yeah, just briefly. One, a point of clarification about the Los Alamos report. I believe the report that, at least the Los Alamos report that I've read, was specifically involving using air burners to dispose of radioactive waste, which may have been the source of the uranium that was tested in the ash of that specific report. But I'm happy to go back and look at the report that I read. And two, we, as you know, work really closely with county parks, the RCD, and we have, for our chipper program, we work with some agricultural producers to see if they accept chips instead of them going to green waste. And we have agreed to reach out to agricultural folks to see if there's any beneficial use of ash. And it would require testing of the ash and stuff like that. And we don't know that there would be a demand for that, but that's something that we're looking into in concert with Natalie Krug. So we'll keep you posted.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, Kimberly, you had something and then we're closing this.
Not related to any of the above. My question for Nicholas is, I'd like if you could come back to the council sometime soon and talk to us about the status of Tenitas Creek Beach and what's going on there and how things are progressing.
Only if I get another hour. No, I'm kidding. I'm happy to do that. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to bring my project manager along with me on that one. But I can talk about Tenitas Creek Beach all night long. So yeah, I would love that invitation. I can work with Gus offline on that.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it. And thank you for the conversation tonight. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for spending the time with us, Nicholas. Really appreciate your work.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. I'm going to log off now, though.
Go back to your family. Thanks, Nicholas. Okay, then we are on to our final agenda item, which is discussion of MCC budget priorities. We have some money that we can spend. And my understanding is we should probably start spending it maybe a little bit more than we have in the past. That is my read on the situation is. And so would love to have a discussion of anybody's ideas for what we could spend some of the money we've got sitting in our bank account on. Given that it is not enough to, like, for instance, redo all the stormwater.
I just have a question, so I don't know. I'm assuming you have ideas.
I have ideas.
So I have a question.
Yes.
How does this relate to the item that was brought up briefly at the last meeting about the county and our
Restrictions on our
restrictions on our
use of
account?
funds, right?
Is that where this is coming from? What's the relationship?
I mean, I think it was more, maybe, I guess, indirectly. It just seems like, if we just keep hoarding, because we've mostly just been hoarding it.
Well, there's a reason for that, because it's a small amount. So
Yes, that's
sometimes
true.
you need larger amounts to cover certain things.
Entirely true. On the other hand, if the hoarding it is going to result in our not getting additional money, then it's time to start spending.
But it's all speculation. Has anybody heard anything back from Adam or Randall on this?
So this raises an issue that Lisa has raised. We had some incompletions. I don't know what you want to call it, incomplete activities in our finance and treasure management, and she outlined what we were supposed to do. Maybe that's not this agenda item, but it seems like we do need to do a little more homework.
Lisa does have her hand up.
She does. Okay, I wrote that and have the Zoom up. All right, Lisa, do you want to chime in on this budget stuff?
I think it would be helpful for the public for you to start this off telling us how much money you do have and some idea of what income and expenses have been since last July, because nobody knows. I mean, maybe you guys do, but nobody else does.
Do we have that at hand?
$12,554 are in the account right now, around that.
Okay.
And the expenses are very low.
I would estimate them, including reimbursement for Squarespace, MailChimp, and some other stuff at $1,000 a year.
But even less than that.
Even less than that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
My concern is that the bylaws say you need council pre-approval for anything over some pitifully small amount. We've been over that it's just easier to, instead of pre-approving every little item, to, at the retreat once a year, just pre-approve anticipated expenses for the year. So you have the main figures there, and then you only need to have a special approval agenda item if something comes up. And then, so have you received the money for this current fiscal year from the county?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
You mean nobody knows for sure?
The answer is no to that. There has not been another addition to that bank account. And how else it is, I don't know how the money gets, do you know how the money gets into the bank account? We deposit it, we get a check?
Yeah, a check comes and the last new supervisor says that the county is researching how, payment occurs, along with some other information that was a bit disturbing, some discussion about having a county administrator it was a little bit unclear, so we're waiting for, the county, to really, finish what they wanted.
Did we formally do what Lisa pointed out we need to do in terms of sending the proper forms and requesting the money? That's what I'm unclear on.
Well,
So I don't think we can, by the answer, I think we could schedule an assignment to review Lisa's email, review the MCC policies, and then schedule the activity that seems to be missing.
The financial, the report was posted to the website for.
There's more than the report that was required. There was a letter that we should have sent, et cetera.
But that, in the past, what's her name? You know, the person we used to have is Leah's son with District 3. Lena basically made sure that there was an invoice that we asked for, and then she produced it basically and followed it through.
And I asked Mike O'Neill, he sent an email to Mike O'Neill and he said he was gonna look into it. I thought that was already in process. And then, life gets in the way. He never responded.
Yeah, I make a suggestion.
Yeah.
And then I followed up with Ray Mueller, and then I got this response that.
What response?
He approved it. He did approve.
When?
Ray Mueller, is there an audio problem with this mic? Is that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So Ray said.
When did Ray approve it?
I don't have the exact date, but I'm gonna guess December, January.
A verbal conversation.
Here's my problem.
It's a verbal conversation. He told me that it was approved. But the step after that, I can't, I don't know. I was not able to get the information.
When you're talking about something going on at the county about they want to make some adjustments and administer, that's coming from the county or coming from you?
Coming from Ray Mueller.
Well, you see that there's a problem in the way the council is administering the money. Is that where that's coming from?
No.
Well, okay, so.
It's incomplete. We're waiting for a report from Adam, I guess.
I think we're saying, yeah, so, but are we just talking about rumors now, or do we have anything?
Wasn't there a document that we saw that proposed new controls on the finances of advisory bodies?
No,
I never saw it.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that.
May I make a request, please, as website admin, working behind the scenes to make sure your records are all completed? I'm fine with doing this. When you have communications, when you send your annual report in, like you did last July, to whomever you send it to, copy me or blind copy me, so I know what's going on and this whole sequence of events and all this other stuff. Just copy me so I can keep track of it. Otherwise, I got to be detective too, with that whole added burden of trying to figure out. And then, like I say, you have the finance page, which has all the institutional memory, all the records to date of how this is done. The finance committee is the chair and the treasurer. So very inconveniently, the county working on a fiscal year and the MCC changing roles on the calendar year, you have two people. So, and during July last year and up until December, the finance committee was Greg and Dan. And they don't seem to have a clear picture of another. I guess the initial submittal went sometime in July to somebody, and apparently there was no follow-up saying, hey, it's been a month. Are you going to send a letter for signature? I don't know what has occurred, but I mean, if something has occurred, it would have helped if I could have had a copy of it. So I know what's going on, so I can help you. Thank you.
You and I need to spend some quality time.
Let's do it. All right, so we will get together.
Yes.
And maybe meet with someone in person
Yeah,
and talk to them directly.
you and I should go, we should go sit down with Michael Neal, I think.
Let's do that.
Why don't we do that?
Okay.
We'll just go down to the office when he's there.
Okay.
Okay.
Or Ray right over there.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like, we'll go over to Ray's
Let's
office.
do it. Okay.
Because Mike will be there, which probably
Okay.
will be there, but.
And well, so if there is a new policy or if there's a change, we'll get it defined
Right.
at that point.
Right.
And we'll also address the issue of last year's funding.
Yes, we will figure out what the process was last year, and we'll figure out what we did this year.
Okay.
Okay.
So can we put a time frame on this?
Yeah, can we do that like Monday?
Okay.
Let's do it Monday.
Okay, and we'll have an answer by the next meeting.
Yes, we'll have an answer by the next meeting.
How's that?
One other request, on your next agenda, under consent, this can be, put a finance report. Update that spreadsheet, at least to last December. And then you need to go ahead and also have pre-approved expenses for the year. I know you're 5 months into the year, but it's just better late than never. So write down, because you haven't pre-approved anything for I don't know how long. And so that you're all in compliance when you have this meeting or whatever. The sooner you get into compliance, the better. So please do put a treasurer's report. That's the name of it. Put that on your next agenda. Just bring the documents up to date and have the council approve it, and also approve the pre-approved expenses for this year.
Dan did a treasurer's report, but let's just defer making suppositions.
Just make
These
sure
guys look
everything's
into
done.
it and I'll be glad to assist in whatever way I can.
Okay.
Right.
I think all the receipts are in that spreadsheet that I have.
I think they are.
They're all up to date.
But we haven't posted it formally, et cetera.
Okay.
So let's just defer the discussion on that.
Okay, great.
So then what we're doing tonight is brainstorming additional expenses beyond what the.
Yes, beyond the
pre-approved
regular
expenses
stuff,
would be.
there's $12,000 in there. Do we want to spend any of that money? And if so, on what?
So there's hardware, there's physical things, there's services, software, people executing things for us. There's all different categories of things that we can spend money on, right? So.
Yeah, okay, yes, so, I mean, I've got a few ideas, I think Greg has some ideas, does anybody else have ideas?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, go for it.
You know, I'm strongly, I still have a strong belief against just spending money to get it out of the bank account.
Okay.
I do believe that it would be beneficial to the MCC and the community for us to have, you know, some level of whatever you want to call it, substantial funds to, if we were, if we found ourselves in a need to do some kind of a fund some type of a study of some kind. So it's just to you know, throw out in a hat different ways to burn up money. I'm just, you know, unless there's a real need, if there's a proven you know, need to spend this money, because you know the times that you know a need for money pops up oftentimes when you just don't have the money, right? We can't afford it. Oh, wish we could do this right now, but we just don't have the funds. How many times have you heard that, right? So, you know, for this fund,
Can you give us an example of something that in the past that we couldn't do because we didn't have the money?
I don't know if there was well, this is more with the county, you know, they considered a pedestrian underpass to be great, but we still have the funds for this right now. Such and such, you know, if the list could go on, I'm a little bit tired, I can't give you example. I think just use your imagination, something that could benefit the community.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I think what we're trying to hone in on is what the MCC can spend money on. We can't spend money on an underpass.
Right.
We can only spend money on something related to what our role is.
I use that as an example for outside of the MCC, for the county, yes.
Okay.
The MCC clearly would not fund we're paying for an underpass.
But the
I just wanted to
MCC,
make sure that we're
Yes.
on the same page.
point of history here, the MCC did pay a consulting study on roundabouts some years back.
So that would be an example,
Okay,
all right?
And we've spent money on outreach materials, not enough, but we have spent money on that.
Okay, Anne, and then we'll hear your ideas and then I'll throw out some. Anne, you want to go next?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, my thought is I would like to see if we could pay for a consultant to study the stormwater runoff from Quarry Park that has been causing flooding to the residents of El Granada for quite a long time. It seems that there's some monies, but it seems to be spent all over. And I feel like this is an ongoing issue that has not been resolved. And I think that would be an area that we should consider spending some of the money because it does affect a large number of residents.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like a good idea. I'm skeptical that we have an amount of money that would cover it.
So my issue with
There
that
you go,
is.
it's a good idea, but we don't have the funds.
No, so.
Perfect example.
Yeah, and at $3,000 a year, it's gonna be about like 2,100 when we do.
Can we take turns?
But so you
So-
and then Greg.
If we could do that and spend that money, it would be great, but I don't want to spend money on something that is being done by another department.
Right.
And I believe that's being studied at the moment, so,
Or should be.
or
Should
should
be,
be
yeah.
by the county, so.
I agree with that,
If
actually.
we voted on it and that's what you want to do, I'm all for it, so.
Okay, Greg.
So to Scott's point, I've come up with a list and I'll read off the big ticket items that we probably don't want to spend money on. But there's an argument that could be made had we had the money. An independent study of what pesticide management controls are in other counties and states. Remember the school signs that we wanted near Fair and Longview School? That really should be a Department of Public Works thing, but a study showing what traffic controls are used. Remember, there was a kid who was nearly killed and we never got the signs put up by DPW. So not funding the signs, but funding some research to justify the signs.
I'm more likely to want to buy the signs.
All right, fine. More meeting equipment, PCTV and GCSD have allowed us to use stuff. Okay, do we need better microphones, for example? Council member software, for instance, to edit PDFs and combine things. Don't city council members get tablets and laptops and a suite of software? And don't we generate enough tax revenue to justify, some expenditure to support us? I don't know. I'm just asking. One of my favorites is the issue tracking and management system that I keep asking for. Because, the air molecules stop vibrating and people term out and things get forgotten. But Anne sort of stole my thunder. I was going to suggest that we contract for a consultant to do a peer review of the stormwater study we're about to do. Because while I and Ann and neighbors are going to come up with a document, it would enhance credibility if we could hire somebody. It would probably cost a few $1,000. I don't know what, I haven't explored it. To have somebody who's a hydrologist, geologist, stormwater person, look at what we do and say, you missed this, you need to substantiate that, this is correct, maybe add things. That could be of value, don't have to do it. And then my favorite one, I don't know if you're aware that there are a half a dozen small cans in GGNRA area for collecting dog poop. And the people who do this on a volunteer basis are Rusty Rosenberg and Sue Hawley. And they don't get paid anything for the dog bags, for repairing the garbage can tops that get damaged and lost. And so Sue gave me a request that could they get $300 for a year to cover the expenses having to do with dog bags and trash can repair. The Recology people already do donate for them one trash bin that they can put stuff in, so that's covered. So there's a $300 request.
I'd give them 600 if they put our name on the can.
Well, so there you go.
Okay, awesome. A lot of great ideas in there. What I was, I went to this GGNRAT on the trails thing the other day. And, a lot of people came out for that, and I was thinking, is there an opportunity for us to do something like that? Like once a quarter, do one, like rotate in the different areas, right? Do one in Miramar, 3 months later, do one in Princeton, 3 months later, do one in El Granada, just on a whatever, like Saturday afternoon or something. And it doesn't cost a ton of money, just like some snacks and a table or something. And just promote it and just, try to get more people to know who the hell we are. That I think is something that, that when I first joined this council, like trying to sort of improve our visibility in the community was something I really wanted to work on. And I think it's something that takes a trivial amount of money to do. But I think could really help raise our visibility. So that's the one that I had.
So do you want to vote on these now? Do you want to make decisions on doing something like this now?
I don't know that I wanted to, I mean, if there's anything that everybody is just unanimously like, yeah, we should definitely do that.
Claire, did you have any?
Not specifically. I did, as Greg was talking about the software and whatnot, there's the fact that we can never read these referrals they send us.
Yes, that's a good example of yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we need some ability to communicate with the county about things that we don't have the software to do.
I think we should look for a resolution of that problem. I don't think that really we should have to funds come out of our account.
I actually agree with that.
But we need to get that resolved, and I don't know, we have to buy one, a heavy duty powerful, I don't know.
Yeah, what is the software that we like?
They're different planners use different things, and most of them we're able to work around. And they're often able to say, we just say, please send us a PDF. And usually they will, but every once in a while, there's just something, there's this Blue Beam thing, which is a problem. There's a couple others that are just like proprietary that you have to buy into or something, I don't know. And part of it's the communications problem, but there is a definite problem with us reading things they want to send us.
All the different planners use different software.
Yeah.
So, well, wait a minute.
It shouldn't be that way.
Some of it is based on the planner I spoke to. Some planners don't know how to authorize properly when they send stuff out. That's caused the problem.
Well, that's what I mean by communications.
Right.
They think that we're all on one email address with the MCC thing. And we try to tell them to send it to all of us individually, and they say, oh, that's a lot of work. And
to send to 3 people.
Yes. Are you just putting 2 more email addresses in a 2 thing? Like,
can you keep a file with a list of 7 email addresses and copy and paste it every time you send the thing out?
Right. Yeah, this is a distro list like this stuff.
I think part of the problem is more and more often, things or offices are, there's these outside software, to simplify the inner workings of the office, so that it's just a one button. And nobody even thinks or reviews it. I think it's automated systems. And I think that, it's not like you and I sending an email, you just click in, Justin Greg or Justin Kimberly. But I'm not sure. I just
was there anything that anybody heard today where it's like, okay, we should definitely spend money on that right now?
Yes, the dog thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, what was the thing that you're like, absolutely, we should that money right now?
2 things. Your idea, I like a lot. I like that better than the kind of outreach that we've done to this point, because yes, it takes more time than the little time that we have, but to dedicate one Saturday, how many times a year?
3 or 4 times a year.
Maybe quarterly.
Yes.
To get out and talk with the public in different areas, I think would be valuable. And I also think it could help us to recruit or groom new council members, which I think still is up there in my priority list.
So those are the reasons. I agree. The problem is it's kind of circular. how do you generate the traffic, given that people don't know who we are, to get them to come to hear about who we are? So that's why partnering with Half Moon Bay events, and we tried the Disaster Preparedness Day. I view it as low turnout. Better would be the Gay Pride Parade or something where people are going to go, right?
Yeah, but I think there was a surprising number of people that came to that GGNRA thing.
Yeah, but they knew who the GGRA, what NRA was, or they had some kind of promotions department or whatever.
Well, they came to this meeting where we had all those people listening to the presentation.
They also put signs up on the trails. I was at the one, did you go to the one at Clipper Ridge?
Yeah,
I was on Friday.
Yeah.
I must have just missed you.
Oh, yeah, that could be. Yeah, I took my dog up there.
You know, I'd be open to considering what you're suggesting, but I think by just having a table and saying, hey, you know, here we are, you know, we're here. No, I think that.
Well, I mean, here's what we're working on, and here are the kinds of things we help with.
We set up a table at GGNRA, announce it, and we hand out food bags.
So,
There are the farmers market.
so it might work in a sense if we pick a real hot issue.
That's
for the community. If it was focused on one big issue, one thing comes to mind would be the Moss Beach corridor, but it really shouldn't be just Moss Beach corridor. It should be, the whole, through all of Midcoast, because it affects all of Midcoast. It affects Half Moon Bay, affects people from the Pacific if they come down Half Moon Bay, affects everybody. But that would be an infrastructure thing that we feel is coming up a little bit, talking about it for years and years. The problem with getting there and really doing a good job with this is they don't give us all the information. They just give us little, we're thinking about this, and we might do that, and we have a little bit of information, it's just all over the board. It's really hard to, somebody came up to give a definitive answer as to option A, option B, option C.
We have public comment.
So it would have to be set up as more of a.
That sounds perilously close to an actual meeting. I mean, that sounds a lot like our meetings, right? That's what we do. We surface some issue.
So you're suggesting just 3 council members just gonna be there? Now one could argue there's problems.
Well,
Problems with
obviously, there would be that, right? There's the Brown Act. So if we all came together for some event like this.
We can't.
It would have to be billed as a
Right.
meeting.
We can't talk about
outdoor meeting. It would have to be cover all the.
Not necessarily, if you're just sort of glad having people.
Yeah.
No. If it's well,
Well, if you're gonna do like
more than 3 council.
doing what? But if you're doing a great big presentation about the Moss Beach corridor, yes. But if you're doing more of a, here's the kind of stuff we do.
Well, the library presentation tonight was fabulous, and something along those lines, I think is more what I'm thinking.
I think the way you thread the needle is I think Dan's right in the sense that if we time one of these things to be concurrent with something that's happening in one of the various sub areas in the Midcoast, then that can help drive out traffic, even though we won't discuss. Like we could say we can't discuss the particulars of it outside of the meeting, but we are involved in this issue. And by the way, we'll be on the agenda, whenever.
And we want your opinion.
Yeah.
We're not telling you what we're doing.
Yeah. So we would love to hear what you
Sounds
think
like a
about it.
verbal survey.
Exactly. As long as we aren't committing to anything in particular, then we're not violating the Brown Act. Like we can listen to what people say. That's not a violation. But I think that's right. In terms of just generating the traffic, you can tie it to something that's going. Because essentially with GGNRA, right? It's just people came out because they wanted to talk about, like, a lot of the horse people were there and so forth. Yeah.
So are you sold?
Well, you have more on that particular thing, but then I wanted to come to
on this particular thing. So, I was at a booth at the Mid-Penn Cell 50-year celebration, whatever it was. And Gus and Greg, you were at the Half Moon Bay, right? So from my experience, you know, you had a lot of people just walking by, oh, MCC, you know, okay, you know, they want to talk. There was really no, there was very little. We think we might, you know, people like following up and I don't know, I just didn't find it really worth my time.
Part of that is because we don't have interesting materials, and we don't have a presentation or a spiel or and we might want to think about what we could buy or produce that would make people want to stop.
Yeah, well, another
did that. We had
you're
Velocros,
you're also
test kits.
you're also in a place where there's a bunch of other things going on, right? Like what I'm talking about, like it would be the only, we would be the only.
How would you think anybody would go there? If we're well, that's my concern.
I mean, that's
a lot of effort on our part and almost
in the spirit of trying new things, we could try it once and see if it worked.
We could print T-shirts that say something like "Rock the Unincorporated Coast," and then people would come.
We're giving out all kinds of stuff at this emergency day last
Just
week.
like I just like print like 1,000 flyers or something and just hand them. Yeah, just put them on doors. Like, I don't mind doing that.
We need swag like at least magnets or something.
You know.
Totally. At the end of the day, it's just spending money, and then you know we don't know really if it's going to be worth it.
Oh, it's not, but it's not actually spending that much. But some snacks. What? Like, it's not that much.
Just thousands of handouts and swag.
I can print 1,000 sheets of paper from my printer at work. Like,
So maybe we
like,
could estimate what we would need for this and come back to, I mean, we're just brainstorming the list now, so I'm assuming we'll toss things out and come back and.
Sure. Again, you'll.
That's got his hand up.
Yeah. Are we ready to?
So I have one other item.
Yes, you got it. Yeah.
These microphones are great. In fact, they're so good that when I listen back to sections of our last two meetings, and we should be aware of this, they're so clear and so loud that at times you couldn't tell what people were saying because we were talking over each other and it was picking all of it up.
Well, the last
So
meeting
we should
was.
be aware of that we need to, this meeting went fairly well that way, but we should not have those situations where we're talking over, because anybody on the Zoom and on the recording, they're not going to be able to make sense of that at all.
Okay.
And so along those lines, are these microphones that belong to GCSD? Are they?
PCT.
They're PCTV. So we are using PCTV's excellent microphones, and do we need to buy our own so they don't have to deal with that? Or, you know, do we intend to keep, you know, doing this for PCTV, which they do a fabulous job. Thank you very much. You know, I think that's an expense that would be important, and I don't know what kind of, you know, how much that would be, but.
Okay, that's.
I would say that we need to consult with PCTV, or you know, separately. You know, Jason or Martin. For right now, the way I look at this is kind of like a trial thing. We're just testing it for a few, so I don't think it's too soon to make a decision. I will say, based on what you said, you know, sometimes during a meeting, there might be a presentation talking. Sometimes there's talk between members. It might be louder than it should be. And it's probably maybe interrupting or.
I would encourage all of you to go back and listen to the meeting before last. There was a point at which we were all talking without waiting for the other person to stop, which is not good practice anyway.
Right.
But it was just chaos on the video. There was no way you could pick out from that what actually occurred in the conversation.
It's like walking into a bar room, right? Everybody's talking at the same time.
And for the community members who aren't able to attend and then they go back to the video later, you know, that's frustrating because you don't know what was said. You just can't pull that out of the sound.
Does that lectern microphone work well at this point? I think may still be problems with it.
Yeah, you know, PCTV says that it works fine, but then occasionally you hear complaints.
No one complained.
But I
tonight.
don't know, it's.
Yes, I mean,
Oh, they did?
I probably should watch more of the meetings and just get a feel for how this system is working.
Yeah, yeah, well, these are super clear.
All right, can we go to public comment? Burnett.
Okay, thanks. This is covering some things that were discussed a little earlier here, but when regarding the study on the Quarry Park runoff, it's, I don't know if anybody from the council is planning to attend that meeting that they're supposed to be discussing it. That means the Parks Commission is supposed to be discussing the issue on May 2nd. It would be great if somebody could attend that, get a firsthand knowledge. They do the video, but the April 4th video was just posted today, so they're quite late in getting the videos out. You may consider a letter to the county to do the study. If you remember, or maybe some of you remember, the MCC letter on the master plan identified the runoff problem to be addressed outside the master plan and requested certain action from the county, and nothing ever happened of it. So it may be time, if you want to consider, if you don't have the money to do the study, which I understand, is maybe a follow-up letter asking the county to do that. I brought this up previously, but you might want to start documenting some of these processes, like the treasurer, how you get the money, how it's supposed to work, so on. You could do a quick document, put it into some kind of depository. The new treasurer comes on, they have that to refer to. Think about some other things, like one of the things back when you guys were talking about reviewing projects that are submitted to you from for review. It'd be nice to have maybe some checkoff points of consider these things, rather than having to go to a council, either prior council member or a council member, if you're new, get a verbal guidance on how to do this. So you might think about maybe getting a depository and starting to document some of these processes to make it easier on the new people that have to take it on at some point down the line when you or a experienced person may not be available. Thanks.
Thank you, Burnett. Okay.
I see no other public comment.
Yes, so yes, closing public comment on this agenda item. Thank you, Greg. Okay, so I think if we've got some things from this list that we've heard tonight, then whichever things we're interested in, I will do a quick, here's what I think it would cost to do one of these little things. I don't think it's going to be very much. And then plan to report that back, I guess next time.
If you're willing to consider the $300 for the dog poop.
I'm willing to consider it.
What documentation would you want? A letter from them describing what they do? And then we would then agree to fund that.
Yeah, I guess that's what we would need, right?
Would that
do we need
considered
do we need a
receipt then?
receipt?
Would that be considered a receipt?
Sure.
Okay, we'll use it as a receipt then.
would it make any sense? This is maybe a bad idea, but to invite people in the community to submit requests to us for something up to $500 that would benefit the community.
So that scares me a little, and I was just gonna bring up that if we did, and I don't think that's a bad idea necessarily, but and certainly a worthy thing to do, right, for people who are putting in the effort. But it worries me that then we're on the hook for doing that for a lot of things, and it's not really our role to be allocating money out to things that probably should be, I don't know, should submit a request somewhere else.
Can we do it as, so if this money's for the dog bags, can we as a council just buy $300 worth of dog bags and then?
Well, why isn't
I'm not opposed to it, I just am worried that.
I mean, it's a real worry.
The next project comes, and then the next project.
So instead of creating the what's the word for precedent of handing out money to someone in the community, we could just buy $300 worth of dog bags and then hand dog bags.
Well, and I'm also worried about what will the county look at that and you know, what will be their perception and their
I don't know.
feedback.
Yeah,
Are they gonna care? Like, I
I
don't know.
think a better effort would be for us to, write a letter to GTNRA, whatever parks, that's what I'm guessing, right? To actually, supply them. That would be every year, just make a change there. That would be to me,
I
a
mean,
wiser move.
Cities fund things like this, right? Because that's within their role and they also have the power to do that, but we don't. And
I think our money is really the spirit is specifically for to help us operate and be effective. And, so we'll hand out here and we'll hand out, I think that's how we should think about it, but that's kind of a vague thought. How do what does it take us to operate effectively? Some of the stuff is easy, like PA equipment, but as far as better representing the community.
it could be like a community appreciation award that goes to some, I don't know,
Community appreciation award, $300 for the dog tags.
right? Yeah. That we pick, well, seriously, we pick a different cause each year and.
Okay, so that's,
Yeah, I like that.
so that's perfect, because
that's a
then
good way to
it
thread the needle.
defines it to one a year. We pick the one, we could vote on it, and we don't. Right, it's a limit on it.
And it's more a recognition and, thanks
Recognition of the work
for
they've already done.
something that they're doing.
I could kill a number of birds with one stone.
It's a clever solution.
Yeah, it is clever, I like it, let's go with that.
It's okay.
Well, Gus is gonna tell us how much all this is gonna cost.
Okay. Do we have anything else on this item? No. Great. So let's move on to the next thing. I know it's 9:50 already. So the next thing on our agenda is council activity. Okay, Greg, first.
I attended the planning commission meeting today where the Cabrillo Unified School District's remodel of the El Granada School was approved. It was cited by several people there as an example of good collaboration between the community and, in this case, the school district. So I'm pleased to say they're going to go ahead. They're going to do phase 0.5 of the work, which is basically moving some stuff around to get the site prepped so that they can actually do more construction. They're going to do that this summer when school is out of session. So I think the whole community is excited to see that project put forward.
Awesome. Good.
You can pass on me.
Pass on me, Dan, anything?
No.
Nope. Kimberly, anything?
I had something in mind and I cannot remember what it was, but,
I've learned.
once we've gone around, then I want to come back to what I thought was going to be on this agenda from last week.
Okay.
Action items, right?
Yeah, our action.
Oh, right, our action items. Okay, yeah, we'll deal with that in 2 seconds. Okay.
The only thing I've done is one of the ongoing meetings about Seton,
Okay,
which is still ongoing.
which is still ongoing. Okay. And do you have anything?
Sorry, I had to unmute a minute. Yeah, I attended the Board of Supervisors meeting. And as Sid already mentioned, there was some confusion over the El Granada properties that they are going to rezone. However, there was confusion as to who actually came to the county to offer that property potentially for sale and for high density housing. And it seems as though the Cabrillo School District Board had not voted for that and has not authorized the sale of the property. So that is in question as to whether or not it would actually even go up for sale. However, the county put that in their arena numbers. So what they're going to do is they're going to basically use it as a buffer rather than part of they have more properties, they have more units than they need to have to meet the arena requirements. So rather than put El Granada as part of the arena, it's now more of like a buffer. And so it'll depend whether or not the property goes up for sale. And then, but they will rezone it ahead of time so that should they decide to go for sale, it'll be ready to go, to planning. And so that was the first thing. And then also they pulled agenda item 15, which was an ordinance to promote racial and social equity, inclusion, and belonging, and establish key responsibilities for county officers and employees. It said while discharging their public responsibilities. And this is something that I don't know if it will come back as an agenda item, but they did pull that. So I found that interesting. I'm not sure why they pulled it at this time. I found it controversial, the ordinance myself. I had planned on actually providing my own feedback. However, that never came to be. Also, I'm finding at the meetings, which is very concerning to me, is that they have changed the amount of time that the public is allowed to make comments from 2 minutes down to 1. And I have yet to see a public comment during this meeting that could fit that 1 minute time frame. Most people go over or are cut off. And it really seems as though, to me, as part of the public, that they don't really want to hear your comments. Yeah, that's what it seems like. I really have no idea why this has changed down to 1 minute, but I think that's something that would be nice to follow up with Supervisor Mueller to find out why exactly this has happened. Why has that change been instituted? Because I don't think it's really right to do that to the public, because people just really cannot get out what they need to say in a 1 minute time period. And that's it.
Can I ask you, Ann, about that last thing? Is that a blanket change that applies to every item on the agenda? Or is it just that they decided for one particular agenda item that they would short? Because that happens, right? That there's so many people who are there to comment that they have to shorten the amount of comment time.
Yeah, no, they've done it for everything now. So it's every agenda item, and it's also when they offer public comment for things not on the agenda. Everything has gone down to 1 minute.
Wow.
That's, I don't think that's good.
I do
Yes.
have a activity.
Yeah.
And on that note, I remember which Board of Supervisors meeting, I think it was, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the Cypress Point one, where everybody inside the chambers, they were allowed 5 minutes each. But then if you zoomed in, you were only allowed 1 minute. And that was absolutely unfair. Just, anyway, maybe that's helpful. Wherever that was, I was.
No, I remember there were a lot of complaints.
On that call, so they may have made a change after that. Or sometime they start thinking about it. Anyway, so my council activity was the GGNRA meeting, that I guess just discussed that. And so the hot items that I learned from being up there was community, I guess it was on next door or whatever, the concept of this campground. Okay, a lot of people in the community were concerned that it'd be too close to the parking lot or whatever, and there'd be like Friday night, Saturday part, out of control, campfires uncontrolled. But I am familiar with a lot of, it's more of a, it seemed like it would be more appropriate for here, to call it a backpacking campsite, where there's a significant, like a 2 mile hike and there's no water, you have to bring everything up there to camp. So if there was that type of a commitment to get to this location, you wouldn't have people, these other problems. Then also, they were concerned about an expanded parking lot or some access road. And I also remember learning that as far as controlling invasive species, they do have a focused product. They have volunteers. It's more up in the Montera side. Whether or not they're going to expand that down, because we do have some problems around the ridge, with invasive species. But that's sorry, I'm getting tired. That's there's the campground and parking lot. Yeah, we came out early, and I think they're backing up on the concept. They're gonna definitely not be close. If they did, it would be more of a backpackers campsite.
Okay, cool. Anything on that? So for me, I had my monthly meeting with Ray. We took kind of a long walk, looked at kind of the area where we're going to lose the parking by Surfers Beach if this plan is not altered. He said he was open to trying to bring the people together to see if we can get that changed. He said there's no guarantee Caltrans is going to want to listen to me anymore than they want to listen to anybody else, but I'm happy to try. He is working on the Seton situation to get the healthcare data and kind of what kinds of calls for service are they getting and what kind of frequency, what kind of times a day, like all that kind of stuff, so we can make a more data-driven decision about what healthcare on the coast looks like, basically, whether that's Seton or whether it's something else. But he was supportive of the idea of our having on the agenda, which I think I would like to do next time, to kind of get a sense from the community on what they think of healthcare on the coast side, what works, what doesn't, what's missing, what would they like to see, and for us to kind of filter that up to him without, I think the goal would be kind of like it was with Rancho, where we're just trying to get a sense of the community and kind of summarize that without committing ourselves to any particular policy position on it yet, because we don't have the data, and that's what he's working on. So that was a good meeting with him. Went to the GGNRA thing, talked with them a little bit about this bike accident thing. My sense from that conversation was there was some confusion about who actually has jurisdiction over that road and who would therefore the lead agency to have to, get the thing repaired. And after some back and forth with the county and consultation of records and things, they eventually did determine that it is in fact them, GGNRA, that would have jurisdiction over that road. And now the issue is, okay, so it definitely needs to get repaired, but where's the money going to come from for that? And is it kind of a quick short-term fix just to address the gaping ditch that's there right now, while you also look at some kind of longer-term fix, because the way the water is running off the thing is damaging the mountain is actually damaging the road, and they would need to find money for that. Yes, Kimberly.
Go ahead, Claire. Did you mean to say that GGNRA was responsible for the road, or state parks?
No, GGNRA they seem to think they are. That was my sense. That was my understanding of it.
I saw that in writing.
Yeah.
So if you look at the map, State Parks has most of the road.
Mhm.
And then when you get towards the top where all those parcels come together, GGNRA has a section that couldn't be, I would say it's less than maybe it's a mile.
Mhm.
So my question would be, I was kind of walking up there trying to figure out where their land starts and the other begins. Is when the county did the maintenance, they appear to have gone all the way, but they just skipped pieces. And so is that a piece the county just skipped for that reason. And so, because anybody who has to navigate up to those towers has to navigate over that section. So I find it kind of strange that they just left that there.
I believe the stretch in question is different than the roads we traveled and inspected.
Then it's not
That's what
part
I
of
think so,
the
too.
North
It's
Peak
near a
access
bench
road.
that's, you come up from the horse farm, you know, and the bridge there at the horse farm, you go up that road. At the top of that, there's a bench on the left. You go to the right and it's in that little V.
Oh, so it's at the beginning of the road.
Yeah, I don't want to use words beginning or ending. You got to hike
She
up
said it
there.
was 1/3 of the mile from the Corona Road.
1/3 of the way, yeah.
1/3 of the way.
She said 1/3 of the way. She didn't say 1/3 of the mile.
Oh, okay.
Because I had because there are spots where the road is just caved in, but those spots are not GGNRA on GGNRA land. So that's why I'm confused, right? Because what you're talking about is the dirt road that goes straight up and then it joins the North Peak access road where the bench used to be at the top. That bench has been replaced a couple of times.
I've not been up there, so I don't know.
They're not confused anymore.
But yes,
they know
but
where it is and they know they have to fix it.
Yes, they seemed quite clear that it's them. And apparently a considerable amount of research
Well, I
went
just
into
want to be
figuring
clear
that
that
out.
this is kind of very different from what our letter was about.
Yes,
sort of
it's in the same general area, but it is not the same thing as what we wrote the letter about, yes. Okay, so I went to that. I went to PCT at an open house this weekend. It was always a fun, always a
And
fun
I'm
event.
so sorry.
And-
I could not go and I did not respond. So I'm so sorry. I just realized that I missed it.
Got to do a little interview with it was me and Patrick Horn from PMAC and a guy named Ray who works with age-friendly stuff on the coast side. It's fun. It's good. It's a good event. They have it every year. You should go. You guys should go.
I've heard it's fun.
Yeah, Marty will put you on that sofa and you get to do a little interview. It's fun. It's good times. And then I'm actually working with to sit down with lunch with Kathleen, who's the new chair of the North Fair Oaks Council. Trying to build some more relationships with the other advisory councils. I'm angling to propose a quarterly, just like the 3 chairs lunch, just so we can make sure we're all kind of in the loop with what each other are doing and can maybe support each other because we're all operating with the same kinds of constraints on what we're trying to do. And then the last thing, I met with the folks from Civic Bell today. They're testing out some new functionality around polling our constituents, polling constituents, basically. It'd be a service they'd provide, like councils or individual people like Mark Berman or somebody could hire them to do it. But they ran some tests and so they ran a test in. They said, "Do you want us to run a test in the Midcoast?" And I said, "Yes, please run a test in the Midcoast." So they did, and that's the deck that I sent you. Are you able to?
I did get something. But you want me to pull it up now?
Yeah, you can put it up on the screen.
And Lisa's got her hand up too.
Oh, Lisa's got her hand up.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at my notes. Lisa, do you want to say something?
Oh, I was going to comment on the comments about time limits at the Board of Supervisors meetings and such, and the 1 minute thing. Okay, so what I've learned on the Planning Commission is basically the chair of the Planning Commission or the president of the board, they are actually the person that decides on that time limit. And basically, they have currently it was 2 minutes. They've been going along with that, but they look at the agenda item, they look at all the agenda items and think of, here's all the number of people. And if we let them all speak for this amount of time, we'll be here till Thursday. And so that's how they just do the arithmetic and then they go with the 1 minute. So I don't think it's been blanket changed. They would probably say that on the agenda. I remarked on it to Tim Fox because the Planning Commission, as a default, it says that the public gets 5 minutes at the Planning Commission. And he said that's because generally the items there are It could be adversarial, where you have an applicant coming in and they get extra time to make their presentation. So the other people should get more. That was the idea about that. But if you have a whole overflow, it gets cut down. It's just a matter of whether the item's going to continue over 3 meetings or whether they can get it done.
Gotcha.
I
Thank
was
you.
just going to say, I appreciate that, but that's not what happened at this meeting. There were not that many participants. And so that was not the case. And the president was sick. So someone else was in his position. And it appears that this is a change that is now permanent.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, anyway, so I just wanted to like super fast, like I gotta really dig that deep into this, but just to give you a sense of what they did. So they ran a survey, so we've got roughly 12,000 people here. They reached out to 4,000 of them, got a 7.9% response rate, which is, for a survey like this, is huge. Like you're typically lucky to get 1 to 2% response. So the question that was asked was, which of these two statements describes you best? One is, we should preserve the character of the coast side. That's more important than building more housing. And the other one was, building more housing is more important, even if it means the character of the coast has to change to accommodate it. And then a third option was, neither of those positions describes me. So the results that came back were 64%. So 2/3 of the people basically said it's more important to preserve the character of the coast side. You have a quarter that said neither of those things describes me, and 11% that said just build more housing, even if it's got to change. They have a kind of AI thing that just like, how AI can be good at summarizing stuff. So it just gave a little summary of the ideas that were of the people who responded. Neither of those things reflects my position. These were kind of the things that. Oh, lost the visual.
Oh, you're good. That's just what you guys see.
Oh, okay. This is what we see. Okay. But I guess, can we put it back though? So that
Can you see it on your?
I can see it. It's here.
Oh, you can see it. Okay.
But
Well, we are not on Zoom.
We can't see it here.
People on Zoom can see it.
Okay, as long as the people on Zoom. Okay, there it is. Okay, great. Awesome. So infrastructure concerns, like the idea of balance, environmental concerns. So, these were the ideas that were behind the folks who said neither of them. If you would go to the next slide. So it also, just kind of on an automated basis, sort of suggests here some follow-up questions you might want to ask folks that would drill a little deeper into the issues that they raise, which I think is actually interesting feature of it. And then it breaks down the data. Some of the things I think are kind of interesting in this is that if you look at the buckets by age, that the older you get, the more it becomes about preserving the character of the coast side. But even the youngest cohorts were still 50-50 on preserve the character of the coast side. And then another thing that I thought was interesting was you can also parse the data on how long have you lived on the coast side, which is obviously correlated with age, but isn't the same thing. And even there, you see again, the longer you've lived on the coast side, the more strongly people felt about preserving the character of the coast side relative to building more housing. So anyway, a lot of automated data that comes out of the thing, and a lot of people like you can have the results sent to you. Like if you fill out the survey, there's an option to include your email if you want to see the results at the end, which I thought is interesting. Apparently, a lot of people chose to do that. So anyway, I thought it was really interesting. They got obviously a great response rate on the issue of housing. Not surprising. The issue that's on a lot of people's minds, but and there's an appendix that just shows gives you all the free response answers that we're getting, blah blah blah.
Awesome.
It's like that's what they're working on, like the idea, like that's what we were talking about today, because this is they're just developing this, right? It's like going to be a brand new service. They haven't priced it yet. And I was basically like, I was suggesting, price it based on the size of the jurisdiction. So for us, we're a tiny jurisdiction, like price it differently so that it can be approachable for someone like us. It apparently costs them, I think, a couple $100 to run that thing. So like they're talking because so much of it's automated, they strip out a lot of the costs. Like normally if you hire a company to do this for you, it's thousands and thousands of dollars to do something like that. And they did it for like $200 to survey 4,000 people and automate all of that. So
possibly a potential budget expenditure for the MCC to do this.
I have, some concerns with this. I know some other community members have brought up concerns as well.
Okay, go for it.
And the concern is that this is a for-profit company, number one.
Sure.
Number two, there's a potential for unfair phrasing of question, or I should say subtle.
Manipulative questions.
Pardon?
Manipulative.
Yeah, leading questions and you get false results. I think there's I'm not saying that there can never be accurate information, but the system can be.
If we want to use this, we pick the question.
Yeah, that's the point. We pick the question. Like the point is just like whoever, like they're just creating a system that can ask whatever it is you want to ask. Like they're not coming up with the questions.
Yeah.
But it will eventually evolve into something what the supervisors are using it, and then whoever it will be infiltrated by the developers, and that subtle change in language. You could say right now, okay, the MCC throws a survey out and we put the letter, but it'll be bounced around all over the place. Different people are using it, and it's just I don't know. It's a direction that I'm not comfortable going.
I find it empowering, and if the price is right, potentially liberating from having supervisors and other large government authorities tell us what we think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the ability to directly ask our constituents what they think and have to think of if they're getting 7 to 8% response rates. I mean, that's we got 319 responses to this thing. That's I mean, we normally get a dozen. We have our regulars. That's great that they come and tell us, but we got 300 other people to say give an opinion on this. That's
But then they're self-selecting to be part of Civic Bell, so that also.
No, they're not. They they weren't Civic Bell members. They used
your phone number.
They used they used voter file, which is all public data, some public consumer data. Everything they use is publicly available and pay for anything.
So if I receive the survey, what does it? Who does it look like it comes from?
Oh, well, it'll eventually look like Civic Bell. This was just a test thing, so it
didn't look like it came from anybody.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how I figured it out. I think the email copy I got led me to Civic Bell. The text version was anonymous, and I got calls from constituents wondering if they were being hacked, if it was safe to answer the survey, et cetera.
Yeah, so they were just trying to test something, so they didn't have. It wasn't plugged into Civic Bell or anything like that. This is just literally a new thing they're testing. So, and they again they offered, do you want to run one in the Midcoast? And I was like, yeah, that's what I would love to see what.
And
what
so when they run the survey, then assuming this is successful and it takes off, do they begin collecting data on people who respond in a way that is beneficial to Civic Bell?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I didn't ask them that, but that's a great question. I'll ask them.
It's getting late.
Okay. But anyway, well, that's the end of my activity. All right. So that gets us to future agendas. I would love to have a seat and discussion next time. Oh, wait, before we do future agendas, the 4 action items from last time. LLS.
Number one was posting the transportation
Transportation.
survey, which I did on the website.
Great. The number two was to fix the names on the letterhead. Somebody do that? Did anybody do that? No, Bueller? No? Okay, so
I like the way it is here. It's perfectly fine on the agenda. Can we just do it like that?
That's what I thought, yeah. I mean, without the
fine with that.
box, you would just put it without the
Without
box
the
and change it.
fine with me. Could someone make that template? Will you do that?
I think you can just insert it into a heading
Okay.
of a Word doc or a
Document.
PDF.
Okay.
I can try and do that and send it to you if you want,
Yes.
but
Thank
I don't know if I'll be successful.
All right, take your best way. I'm not, I
Okay.
tend to be terrible at stuff like that.
Okay.
If it's anything with spreadsheets, I will handle it because I do it better than anybody. If it's anything that has to do with like Word, all I will do is fight with Word for like 3 hours and never get headway. Like I can't manage the Word and the docs. Spreadsheets, I'm your guy. I can make Excel sing you a lullaby at night.
Did you do pivot tables?
Yeah, you can pivot tables.
Okay.
Pivot tables. Come on, man, challenge me with something. All right, number three was a future agenda item to establish a communication policy for the council. What I proposed, I almost put that on tonight's agenda. Very glad that I did not. What I propose is a working group. I think the people that should be on it, Greg, Claire, Kimberly, to do a little pre-work on kind of what are the issues that like so that it doesn't become some amorphous thing that's just all stuff. Like what specific things do we need to iron out about? Because there is an existing doc. Lisa pointed us to it on the just like guidelines and things for the MCC. So like what in there needs clarification or addition, and then maybe bring some proposals for what the additions and things can be, and then we can use that as the starting point for the discussion. Otherwise, I think it'll just be too unfocused. Does that make sense?
But it's a question of whether they agree to be on the working.
So
Yeah, I'm fine with it, but
I agree.
okay.
Okay, great. Awesome.
So that's on the issue, we're not opposed, and now I'm the opposition, and I'm not allowed on the working group. So
I'll trade with you if you want to.
I think you should be active because you have a lot of points.
You had the major concerns.
Okay.
Well, I didn't
Okay.
envision that we would undertake.
Claire, do you mind if I sub you for Dan?
But,
Dan can express his opinion when it comes to the whole council. Nobody is excluded. It's just a question of preparing the lists, making a proposal.
If someone has to go, I guess it'll be me, but I don't think it should be.
well, I'm a little concerned here.
I will
So
back
there's
out.
two different things,
No, I
right?
think you have further discussion, you know.
But I don't want to discuss.
Before you start to, not now. Before you start to.
That's what the pre-work is for.
That's what the pre-work is for.
That's what the pre-work is for.
So,
You know, I could come up with a whole lot of reasons why. I just think it's really bad direction to go.
What is
Okay,
bad?
do you want to
I don't
be?
want to get into it now, but I think they need to be, communities here, and the whole council needs to hear.
Yes, it's going to be on the agenda. This is the pre-work so that we have an agenda item that runs smoothly. Do you want to be on the pre-work committee?
So it would be like draft, like we usually draft a letter. This is to draft sort of some guidelines.
Up to you, Dan. I'll put you on it if you want to be on it.
This is for, the second Tuesday of April, May.
Oh, I was actually going to suggest that you guys tell me when you're ready to do it. Like, I don't know if you're going to be ready to do it in 2 weeks, then great, I'll put it on in 2 weeks. But I was going to just let you guys tell me when you feel you're ready to do it.
Let's do it, we'll have it.
Gus, you're in charge.
Yeah, you picked a subgroup.
You ask Kimberly and me.
I don't want to be on it. I'm already on a rules and procedures committee for the TA. I can't do any more rules and procedures.
There's also the possibility that you could have two groups. The 3 people can work together, but the other 3 people can work together too.
That's true.
Interesting. Okay, you mentioned there were multiple things. So what are the multiple things that?
I guess I was looking at this a little differently. So there's the issue of making our communications policies more clear. But then there's also the issue of just getting a sense of our individual understandings of what, to make sure that we're on the same page about, and I know that a clearer policy would help get us there. But I'm still concerned that things that have already occurred are still hanging out there. And this doesn't address those things.
What's still hanging out there?
We don't have to go down that road now, but.
I see it as just one single issue. Gus, you know what it is, Greg, you know what it is, but that's the only focused issue. Doesn't have to be deleted.
Okay. So on the specific issue of how we communicate when we are acting as private citizens, I think that working group should be Greg, Dan, and Kimberly. On the issue of any other the things that need to adjustments that need to be made to our sort of rules and procedures, guidelines, whatever. I think that working group is Greg, Kimberly, and Claire.
I'm much more interested in the previous one. I don't really care about the second one, although I will do whatever you want.
Maybe you need to pause and take a day to think this through and then make the committee assignment. What doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
done in a
I guess I
public
don't have
meeting.
to, because we're not really
It could be me, Claire, and Dan.
Sorry?
Could be me, Claire, and Dan.
I'm fine with that.
Actually, yes, that's simplest. You okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
Great, that's done, solved. Thank you for solving that.
Is
So
that
I don't have to have another thing to do about tomorrow. Great, awesome. All right, you guys, the working group, and you tell me when you're ready to put it on the agenda. Okay, and then the 4th was confirmation from Tim Fox about what can and can't be removed from the MCC website. We can pull anything off the website that we want to pull off. So let's pull off the letter. If we have not already.
So we haven't pulled it yet.
I don't know. I don't know. I just remember that. So the takeaway was I needed.
Was this the letter I posted in the council member
Yes,
activity?
yes,
Okay,
yes. So please take that down if it's not already down.
all right.
Okay, great. Those were all our action items.
Awesome.
And will you quickly just remind us what the action items were for today?
All right, let me go back through my notes. I think there's only one, isn't there?
No, there was more than one.
That's definitely more than one.
Well, I got, let's
We're gonna meet on Monday. It's on my calendar.
Okay, great. Okay, Dan, what was the one that you have?
Wait. To review Lisa's letter and do what is needed as far as the treasurer's report.
Okay, yeah, that's the stuff that all right, so that's the Gus and Scott stuff. What was the other?
I'm just looking back at my list.
I think there was one other thing, but I don't remember what it was.
It was to make sure that what's his name finds out whether there's a study on pesticides in the water.
Oh, right, to follow up with Nicholas.
So I also have Gus and Scott will talk with Mike O'Neill on Monday.
That we already got that, yeah.
Pre-approved expenses for the year, we can draft that.
That was
Yeah, I guess
Lisa's point. We should have that's part of what you're gonna.
That's part of what okay.
I thought we did. Maybe not.
I thought we did too, but
I don't remember. I have zero.
We should check the
We haven't really had any new expenses, so we haven't had a need
We can
to do that. The typical reoccurring.
Worst case, we're reauthorizing things, whatever. That's 30 seconds of time. It'll be in the consent agenda.
and then you're gonna compile the brainstormed list.
Right. Yes, all right, yes. And another thing that should be in there is to compile or at least to cost out a couple of the brainstorm things that it seemed like there was some interest in. Okay, anything else?
That's it. No, I don't know if you truly meant literally, you feel like we're hoarding money, but you know, that is, but you know.
We're squirreling it away for a wintry day.
You want to start burning it up.
Fiscal conservative here. I'm not super interested in government spending money. I'm just saying, like, if there's going to be any
going to debt, I'd vote for it. Pass it on to future generations.
You know how many videos there are out there about me railing about government spending?
I think it's a valid concern that we don't have enough community outreach.
Yeah.
And that it's a necessary thing to build momentum for renewing the council. You know,
I thought that was a very good
So that's
that Kimberly made.
So we don't have an outreach program.
Yeah.
We're not doing the newsletter, although that doesn't cost money.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
And yeah, all right. So future agendas will be Seton and at some point communication stuff, and then someday stormwater and anything else future agendas.
I mean, there's some on the spreadsheet that are still hanging there, so maybe we should.
You want to just take a second? I'll find that spreadsheet.
Well, we could look at it next time. It sounds like the next.
Or we could meet on Monday.
Yeah, we'll do our normal Monday.
Okay, good.
Talk through it then. But yeah, but we've.
Want to chime in with some of the things you think we should be dealing with? You know, just send somebody an email.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So we adjourned?
Yes.
Yes. Great. Awesome.